Okay, boys, maybe we got this all figured out. Fuck. Internet. So, ladies and gents, we've been having some technical difficulties, all of which have been due to Canadian internet BS. And I got to tell you, so like for the last 6 months, I have had no internet issues, which is highly uncommon. I think this is like highly uncommon around the world. Everybody knows that internet is always glitchy. And for 6 months, we've been good. And we beat the shit out of the internet here at my house too. Like we don't have cable. We're kind of an internet family, right? So just yesterday, I think it was, I tried to go to a website as one would. And, you know, typically it's like type it in, hit enter, and bango, you've got at least something loading at the very least. And I just get the old death wheel just scrolling. I'm like, what is that? I don't even remember that symbol. You know what I mean? It's been so long. And so I'm like, I don't know, maybe I got to reset my internet browser. So out I go, in I go, same thing. I'm like, what is going on here? But again, because I've had like 6 months of training where life's been good, I'm like, I don't really know what's going on right now. And then tonight we sit down to try to do the pod with Jess, and I'm dealing with bullshit. So here we are. Hopefully,
you know what
good.
Is? It's that old laptop you brought back to life last week with all the Pornhub on
it. That old porn machine is full of some stuff. Let me tell you, boys.
Which, speaking of Pornhub, you know, Britt, after dinner, we don't do cell phones during dinner, but after dinner, and we're like following up on shit. He like pulls up this post. It's like, girl sleeps with 583 men in 6 hours on Pornhub.
Oh.
So I'm like, in how long? So I'm like doing the math. I'm like, that's like 1.6 minutes per guy.
Wow. That's doing work, son.
Yeah. And of course, Britt, she's like, well, maybe there was like, you know, multiple areas being used at the same time. But I'm like, efficiency,
a lot of details.
Yeah, you know.
Hey, okay, Chris, speaking of technical difficulties, I think you're operating off a laptop mic right now because you don't sound as good as you normally do.
Oh. Let me fix
I'm not the only one tonight, Jess.
Yeah. I hope I sound okay. I don't have a fancy mic.
No, you sound good. And you were the one worried that you might be dealing with technical difficulties, and here the hosts are. So
yeah. No worries. I know how it goes.
All right, Chris, how you sounding now? Oh, no, now you're muted.
Oh, double muted.
Well, while he works that out, Jess, Mr. PuzzleFox5.0 on the grams and the YouTubes, right?
Yep. Yeah, YouTube too.
Dude, thanks so much for taking the time, buddy. It's an honor to have you on.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. I love it. So,
yeah. No, this is awesome, pal. Well, me for sure. I've been hanging out in the sidelines watching you bust your knuckles on that old car of yours.
Yeah.
And buddy, you're putting in the hard yards.
Yeah, I've really been busting my ass on it lately. It's like, well, it's been off the road for 5.5 years now. So it's time. And I got a 22-year-old son, my son Owen, and he's a huge car nut too. He's like, you got to get that done. And kind of the whole purpose was, well, originally the purpose was that I just wanted a really good handling street car, like do some autocross, maybe an occasional track day, and just have a fun, fast car that looked halfway decent. But
yeah, here we are.
Down the rabbit hole we go, and scope creep, and
no doubt. Hey,
yeah, I kind of like to joke that I originally got it thinking I'd build just a really nice handling street car, and now it's kind of turned into a race car that's going to be a streetable.
Right.
That's kind of how it's looking anyway.
Oh, buddy. I mean, you know, I know for a fact that like every time I mention the rabbit hole, like every single dude's guts just go like, oh yeah, been there, done that. You know, Okay, Christopher's back. Buddy, how you sounding?
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it
Maybe.
better?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, that sounds like the guy I hear every week. Okay.
All right. Man, everybody, Jesse, it's your turn for something to happen. Now.
Don't do that to me. Don't do that.
It's all good, buddy. Well, okay, Jess. I mean, shit, we got all the time in the world here because I know you like spending the late hours out in the shop there and stuff. Where'd you fall into this whole mess that we know as Mustang love?
Oh, well, it kind of goes back a long ways. So I'm kind of a Ford guy. I appreciate all cars, but of course, Mustangs are my jam. Started when I was young. My dad's a Ford guy too. He had a Mustang, and he has a '73 Sports Roof.
Oh yeah,
Mustang Sports Roof that he ordered brand new. So he still owns the car. Unfortunately, it's a rotted out old Minnesota car, but it's the car I learned to drive a stick. Well, I grew up on a farm too, so I drove equipment all the damn time. But that was the first car that I'm trying to think. That might have been the first car I ever really drove. Learned how to drive a stick shift in it. It was a 302 with a 3-speed in it.
Oh,
so
long
just
years.
a little H pattern. You couldn't miss a gear in that bastard. So
yeah, if you did, you're doing something real wrong.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the car I learned how to drive in it. It was the first car I drove when I had my license. And like I said, it was a rotted out old Minnesota car. And I grew up with like kids that had nicer, fancier cars. And I just drove this old rust bucket and it's kind of try to live by that. It's like, try not to care about what other people think. And other guys, like there was this one kid, he had like this beautiful 72 Chevelle SS, all built up 350 with an automatic. And I got 450 horse out of this thing and beautiful red paint job with the black racing stripes. And God, he used to give me shit about that car. I'm like, well, you don't have to drive it. I'm like, I'm perfectly happy driving it. If you don't like it, don't look at it.
Totally, man. Yeah. It's so funny though, hey, because like rewinding the clock to those days, and which I get to do with my kids every now and again, right? When they're telling me stories about school and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I guess I'm fortunate enough to have that sort of fresh memory of it, even though it was Jesus Murphy, like 35 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
Like long time ago. But I can still remember what it was like to, you know, kind of give a shit about what other people thought and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to tell them all the time, I'm like, guys, you know what? Like that completely flips 180 the older you get, where you don't give a shit what somebody thinks about, you know, the shoes you're wearing or fucking any of that stuff, what you're driving. And I said, what it turns into is you actually want to like hang out with the guy or the gal that's in high school. They were probably sitting in the corner planning some like mastermind business, or, you know, like they were up to something really interesting. Not the kid that was like worried about their hair being out of place or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was that quiet kid in the corner. So,
right. Well, and here we are going.
I was in the back of the classroom looking through my auto traders and cycle traders and stuff. And we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And my dad thought it was too much if you spent $15 on a pair of shoes and you got one pair of shoes a year.
Right.
I remember those days.
Oh yeah. Pretty wild. Hey, it totally shifts though. 150%, you know, like, cause you think to yourself now, you know, you go about your day and maybe you run into, or you pay attention a little bit to like somebody that probably was, I don't know, maybe popular in school or whatever. And you're like, you're a bit of a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, actually, case in point, and I'll ask you guys to answer this too. Like, I don't know of anyone that was like, you know, upper echelon in high school, you know what I mean? Like considered air quote cool, that has done anything interesting with their lives.
Yeah, I think it's kind of few and far between. So
are you saying like when they grew up, like they were the cool kid?
Yeah.
For like high aspiration type deal.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple like hockey guys that I went to school with that did all right.
Yeah.
Like nothing like crazy, but like they did all right. Like they went down the path and the journey, but like I don't know. I don't know anybody who's like won like any Nobel prizes or like done anything
Yeah.
super, impressive. Like
Yeah.
I'm assuming if I went back to my high school or whatever and looked in the wall, if somebody had some pretty cool achievement, they'd be bragging that that was their student. So maybe I need to like, I don't know.
Well,
yeah. I was
maybe-
going to say, like a lot of the guys that were popular that were dickheads. I don't know any of them that really amounted to much. But like there was the girl.
Exactly my point.
Yeah, because there was a girl that I went to high school with, and she was like our homecoming queen and stuff, and good-looking gal and everything. But she was just a sweetheart, But she's gone far in life. I think she's like down in Arizona now or something. I saw like on like our high school group, something popped up that she was voted like business woman of the year, and I don't know if she's like some VP of some company and stuff. So, but yeah, she was a sweetheart though. So,
well. Okay, maybe that kind of proves a point is that, yeah, if you were a dickhead, but you were considered part of the cool kid group in your younger years, you're probably a complete fuck up right now. You know what I mean? But if you were nice to people and you know what I mean, were a decent human being, you probably did okay. But like, it's funny you bring that up, Jess, because I was about to say, like, here we are, 3 dudes. I'm like, let's try to think of who was like that rocket ship hot gal in high school. I know from my high school, all of the gals that all me and my buddies drilled over, there's one girl actually, I don't know where she ended up. So there's a missing link to this piece or this puzzle, but every other one of them, they're just mucking along through life like everybody else, wiping their ass just like the rest of us. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I try to pass this intel on to my kids. I'm just like, just because that chick's got pretty hair or whatever, I'm like, it doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Like, do they got a good soul? Like, are they a good human being? Yep.
That's what we always try to preach to our kids too. It's like, just be a good human being. That'll take you a long freaking way.
Have manners, be a good human, be kind to others, don't screw anybody, like the basics. And like, I don't give a shit if you got a doctorate in spaceship management. If you're an asshole, you're still an asshole.
Yeah. It's 100% right.
Yeah. I don't know. I was actually, before we got on here, boys, I kind of got sidetracked at a buddy's place, and I had my youngest gal with me, and he had never met her before. So we ran in to see him real quick, and my little gal Sadie walks up to him and introduces herself and shakes his hand. And my buddy's like, oh, like, I like where this is going. He's like, how did you get her to do that? I'm like, well, it takes some figuring. You tell them this is what you do and you meet somebody and stuff. But I'm like, I always tell my kids, it's little stuff like that. Like, you can be wearing the dirtiest clothes. You can be having the worst day of your life. But if you walk up, look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, and give them the time of day and everything, that'll take you further in life than anything else.
Oh, yeah.
None of this, what shampoo you use in your hair. Like, fuck all that. You know what I mean?
What hair dryer you use?
Right. Fucking let's not go there. Jesus Christ. Okay, so simple farm boy, the old fella there, he's got himself a nice little 3-speed hot rod, and you learn to drive behind it and you get bit by the bug. Is that how it happens?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, I grew up on a farm, so I just used to just wrenching on stuff. We didn't have lots of money, so all the work we did on our farm equipment, we did ourselves. So, and I was always the kind of kid tearing shit apart, putting it back together. And
right,
my dad used to get really mad at me. I'd go out and my $10 garage sale bike that I had, I'd freaking tear that up, get up at 6:30 in the morning, tear that apart, put it back together, and be riding it around and trying to pop wheelies on it, breaking frames in half. And
that's where it starts for a lot of us,
getting dad mad at me. So,
oh yeah.
The best is we had this little we had this little go-kart. He did break down at one point, and we had this, but like he bought this rickety old go-kart frame. And we had this, it was a 7-horse Wisconsin engine that we had on this devil. Well, then that finally crapped out, and then it took him about a year, and then he finally broke down and bought a 5-horse Briggs, spent the big bucks and bought a little 5-horse Briggs. And man, I'd be up at 6:30 in the morning on that damn go-kart ripping up and down the road, and it had just the sprocket on the left-hand side to drive one wheel, and then on the other end of the axle it was just 2 jam nuts. So that other wheel just freewheeled. So I figured out you could jam down those jam nuts. And this is when I was like 8, 9 years old. You could jam down those jam nuts and it'd be a posse.
Right.
So I'd be ripping up and down the road, and I had it figured out where you could let off the gas and chomp back on it and get it kicked sideways. And I'd be sliding down the road like 20 feet and it would start digging in just in time to shoot you up the driveway. Well, then that wasn't enough. So then I went out there and I'm like, oh, I want it to be louder. So I went up and pulled the muffler off the engine. It started ripping up and down the road. And it's like 6:37 in the morning. And I come up in the yard the one time and my dad's standing out there and what the hell are you doing? I'm trying to sleep yet.
I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say that they've upgraded to a Briggs and Stratton.
Yeah, that was class. So
No doubt. Hey, yeah. Forget all that Honda shit. Get the Briggs and Stratton.
Well, that 7-horse Wisconsin, it was all cast iron, big old thing. It must have weighed about 80 pounds. And that Briggs, well, you know, the little Briggs, it's probably what, 30 pounds, 40 pounds?
Yeah.
It's about half the weight over the back then. Cut out.
You know, buddy, something else I was looking forward to, and I meant to make a point of saying this earlier, but the fact that you're from Minnesota, which when I went to school down in the States, everybody used to think I was from Minnesota, right? So I'm like, fuck, this is going to be beauty because we got 1 Minnesotan, 2 Canadians. I mean, anybody that's from the deep South is going to be pissing themselves through this podcast end to end.
Yeah, I got stories about that too.
Yeah. Oh, just hearing you say Wisconsin, that's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I get a lot of flack, and we both our kids were actually born in Central Illinois, so we used to get a lot of flack. Nora, my wife, she picks up accents pretty quick, so she'd lose her accent and talk like everyone else. Well, me, just a simple farm boy, I don't lose nothing. I hang on to it with the death grip. So. Well, they're like, you guys are from Minnesota, aren't you? And then yeah. And like, well, how can you tell? Well, not so much with Nora, but with you.
Right. Yeah, because Illinois has kind of got its own little twang to it as well, right?
Yeah, the further south you go, you get a little bit of a southern twang, but it was funny when we lived there. We knew a gal, she was from like Gary, Indiana, so like northern Indiana. She had like the strongest southern accent that I had heard like the whole time we lived in Illinois. So I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, aren't you from down south somewhere? You're not from northern Indiana.
Right. You know, and buddy, we kind of dipped through, I think we just kind of went through the corner of Minnesota. Yeah, we did for sure. I saw the sign that we came through. We went from Wisconsin through to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Man, that bottom corner we were going through, geez, it was pretty country.
Oh yeah.
Wisconsin's quite beautiful too.
Yeah, I like this area. So yeah, I'm just like I was telling Chris, I'm about 40 minutes north of the Twin Cities. So we're kind of lake country. So
right.
A lot of tourists, a lot of cabins around, all that kind of stuff. So
okay, well, I would have, because we went through we went through the Twin Cities. We went through I seen St. Paul. So yeah, we were closer to St. Paul than we were in Minnesota.
Yep. So I'm like half an hour north of where you were at right there.
Okay.
Maybe a shade more. So out of this, enough out of the cities that I can say I'm not a city boy still. So
there you go. Well, okay. So where was the farm that you grew up on? Was it in Minnesota?
Yep. Southwestern Minnesota. So it's kind of interesting because like if you draw a line kind of diagonal, like kind of that that northeastern corner where it kind of juts out towards the lake. That's a lot more hilly and wooded and forests and stuff like that. And then you kind of get towards that the western half, and especially the southwestern half. It's just flat cornfields as far as I can see. So
right,
corn and soybeans. So
okay,
so that's what I grew up around. We had corn and soybeans and beef cattle. So
okay. Well, so Jess, maybe you can answer this for us, because Chris and I were talking about the corn in and around his place the other week. And so it's just whatever. It's either fuel or food. It's not, well, animal food, not edible sweet corn, whatever. And we were saying, like, shit, the stuff goes up so fast. Like, they got corn in, little over a month. So does that shit grow faster, or like, what's the deal with it?
Well, it grows pretty fast. Now you're going to get me down a rabbit hole of farm talk. So we'll be talking John Deere's. We'll be talking John Deere's instead of Mustangs. So
when are your cornfields at their prime where you're at, or in this south?
Up here, the big saying is knee high by the 4th of July for the corn. So we usually plant our crops. If they're lucky, they'll have them in maybe by late April, early May. Damn. And then they'll be harvesting the corn in October. So if you just take your Texas season and bump it back probably 2 months, and that's what we got here, just so that things can warm up and dry out and thaw out. And
I'm already looking at like 6.5 foot husks, and I'm looking at cobs already.
Yeah, because we'll see that's late July for us.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, because usually by the 4th of July, they always say knee high by the 4th of July. That's what the farmers want. Otherwise, they're not going to get a decent crop. But usually by the 4th of July, it's usually shoulder high or so. Typically.
What would you guys do with your corn, Jess? Was it like human grade edible, or was it?
No, it was field corn. So I think they use it for a lot, like you said, for fuel. It's used for fuel, used for plastics. I think they do use it in some food. I think you actually make corn syrup out of like field corn. You take the oils out of the corn and make different stuff out of it. I think. Don't quote me on it. I'm sure there's other guys listening too that are more into the farming stuff than I am. I've kind of sadly lost touch with it, but
we threw the feeler out last week and nobody has messaged, at least on my side, to educate me on the corn crops.
Well, I suppose I could make all sorts of stories up, and
So you might be our number one farm related listener / now guest on the pod here. So
yeah, you can take us to school, brother. And then soybeans. So what is that? Like, I guess you're kind of like all that shit would go towards like the vegan end of things, would it not?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. All your soy-based foods, and then I know the oils are used for different stuff too. So
right.
Like you were talking about how dry the corn gets too. I'm like, man, gonna send me down a rabbit hole, but But yeah, you want your corn and beans to be at a certain moisture. You don't want them to be too wet. You don't want them to be too dry, because if it's too wet, then it doesn't store well. If it's too dry, then it busts up and breaks apart. And there's kind of a happy medium. And like when you bring your crops into the elevator, they usually check it for the moisture content in it, and it needs to fall in a certain range. And
gotcha. Yeah, it's a neat deal. I mean, I've always appreciated the farming world. I grew up with a few buddies that had cattle farms, cattle and hay.
Yeah.
And every spring we used to go out and help them brand and calve and all the rest of it. I mean, it was always just a hoot. And it's so neat to appreciate that lifestyle, because I don't know how to say this without, I think everybody that listens to us is pretty level-headed people, but I was going to say, I don't know how to say this without sounding sexist, because it's going to kind of come across that way. But, all the guys would show up and do all the heavy lifting, branding and nutting calves and doing the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And all the gals would show up back at the house, and they would all spend the whole day making this meal that everybody was going to enjoy that night, right? And the food was just incredible. You know, like you'd have all these gals from all over the valley because everybody comes to everyone's ranch and helps brand, right?
Oh,
They
yeah.
try to stagger it so everyone's can help out. So you got, you know, the better part of a dozen or 20 gals that have, you know, brought recipes from their great grandmothers to make whatever dish it is that they brought. And they'll stand over your shoulder as you're dishing it up and they want to see you take that first bite. You know, like they're just waiting to see your reaction, you know?
Yeah.
And they just, it was really neat to see people take those, like all of that just so seriously, you know? And there was none of this, like, I did this or I did that. Everybody just pulled their weight and it all just works, you know?
Yep.
It's a really neat deal. I mean, I'm sure that there's bullshit or whatever, you know what I mean? But like, I don't know, from an outsider's perspective looking in, I was just always so impressed with that.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a small farm, so it was just a family farm, but my mom spent about as much time out in the field as she did in the house. But and then like I said, we didn't have tons of money growing up, so we had our own garden. Like right outside our front window of our kitchen window, you'd look out across the driveway that came up. And then she had a 1/2 acre garden where like a quarter of it was sweet corn, a quarter of it was potatoes. There was another section when she loved flowers, so she grew some flowers. And then there was another section with some fruits, strawberries, raspberries, whatever. But we pretty much grew everything right on the farm. I still remember too when I was really little, we even had our chickens and ducks and all this different stuff. I remember going out. My dad kept a wood stump with a hatchet in it and the little chicken catcher thing right outside the chicken coop. It's like, well, we're having chicken for lunch today. And plop goes the head, you know, and me and my brother and sister were plucking. I was a real little dude, so I very faintly remember this, but I remember plucking the feathers and having that chicken for lunch.
Yep.
And then the feathers got kept to be used for pillows and nothing got wasted.
So cool, man. It's funny too, because, you know, you think about like nowadays where the sort of quote unquote trendy thing to do is, you know, have your own little garden and kind of eat your own shit. Maybe you got enough land, you can have a couple chickens, whatever.
Yeah.
But like even those of us that might fart around with that stuff a little bit, like if you, I guess maybe I'll say this another way. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to go and just buy those like $1 packs of seeds and take a run at doing your own garden and think to yourself while you're doing it, holy shit, I could not imagine if I had to survive off of just this, because you're probably going to fuck your lettuce up and then the carrots are going to go to shit on you. Like it's not easy at all. And then having a sizable enough place to actually, you know, like you say, self-sustain yourself. I mean, it's real living. And I mean, the alternative is go hungry, right? Yep. So I don't know, man. I think we take the grocery store for granted these days. You know what I mean? Like you say, knocking the heads off chickens or going out and whatever, taking a cow around the barn for the last apple. And that's what you're going to put away for the winter, you know, like that's living.
Yeah. Yeah. We never had to do that with our own cattle, but we always had fresh meat in the freezer. We had two big, like a chest freezer and upright freezer, and they were always full of meat. So
yeah.
And it's kind of funny too, because my dad, he was kind of a picky eater and he wanted to make sure his food was cooked. So he'd always have the steaks cut real thin and he always wanted them really well done and with no seasoning or nothing on them. He was a plain Jane dude. It's like ketchup was hot. Ketchup was too much for him.
Really?
He didn't have ketchup on anything, nothing. So, but I remember eating them steaks when I was a kid and I'm like, I can't. And we'd have steak like once or twice a week, you know, and you'd tell my buddies, oh, we had steak last night. Oh, that's so good. I'm like, I don't know.
These are hockey pucks.
I got off to college and made my own steak and seasoned it up and stuff. And they took the first bite of it. And I'm like, wow, steak can be good. I grew up thinking steak wasn't good.
Yeah. Overcooked hockey pucks. Yeah, those are never
just
good.
thin too. They weren't quite hockey pucks, but they were pretty dark.
Ooh. Yeah, that's
It's
not a good
weird
way
how
of
like
doing it.
just the taste changes so much with like being cooked that much further. Like I noticed it
Yeah.
actually, especially with eggs too. Like if you like really fry an egg, it gets like it just turns nasty. Like I won't even touch it.
Yeah.
You know, like it
Yeah, it's
needs to be
true.
more on like the fluffy side of things. Like not like I'm trying to catch salmonella or anything, but yeah, it's when people because Brittany, she got salmonella once, and now she's like, oh yeah, no, like cook the shit out of my eggs. And then like as soon as it gets to that, I can smell it. I'm like, okay, it's good for it's hit that boiling point.
Yeah.
No, okay, tell me something here. If you guys happen to know this, I think is salmonella not like don't you get it from the like the shell? Or is it like the raw insides? Because people eat raw eggs, like not typically, but like,
Yeah.
some of the old bodybuilders, right? They'd be cracking eggs and drinking them and whatever,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know.
Or are they just playing roulette, Russian roulette? I don't
I
know.
think I think it depends on like how like I think it's like a bacteria that catches on to poultry. Because it's usually poultry related items, right? So I think it's usually like if it stays out too long
Yeah.
or it's too much in the oxygen or something, that's when it comes into play. I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but that would be my assumption because yeah, to your point, people well, it's like we all ate the raw cookie dough.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know
I
what
was
I
gonna
mean?
say,
And we were fine.
yeah, I thought salmonella was more from the meat, not from eggs, like undercooked meat. But I don't know.
Right.
I'm not
You know,
a food scientist, so I don't know.
so speaking of eating cookie batter, but even worse. So, we grew up on the leaner side of life as well. And so hamburger was kind of a treat in our house, right? And so we do like hamburger helper or meatloaf or meatballs, pretty much anything ground beef related that you could create a shape out of, we were eating it, right? Well, I can remember as a kid going by the bowl that mom was mixing the meat and the spice and whatever up with and taking a handful of meat and eating it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's
And I never shit
actually
my pants as a kid. Like I was
yeah.
fine, you know?
Well,
So I don't know.
there's a lot of I guess more raw meat appetizers at like upscale restaurants, but um there's I think like in Turkey, there's a recipe where it's literally by kneading the raw meat is your body temperature cooking it.
Oh,
So there's like this raw meat dish that they literally knead with their hands, and then that is as far as it goes in terms of getting cooked. So whatever your body temperature is, 98 point fuck whatever, 96, I don't know.
yeah.
That's as warm as she's getting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah. There's all well, I mean, definitely cookie dough. I still do that.
Oh,
If
yeah.
there's cookies going on,
Yeah.
because like unless they're coming right out of the oven, well, whatever. I'll eat them after the fact too, right? But like right out of the oven where they're nice and soft and ready to rock, or the batter. I'm like, you
Mhm.
can't beat this shit. Like that's the
Well,
best.
one that really it's one of those things where everyone always said, right? If you saw how hot dogs were made, you'd never want to eat one.
Lips and assholes.
Yeah. So what's got me is shit, I forget how many years ago now. So Britt got on to some friends of ours made homemade eggnog, and she's like, "Oh my god, this is the best eggnog I've ever had." So then she went down the rabbit hole of, "Oh, I'm gonna make homemade eggnog." So she goes and gets like the farm fresh eggs. So it's technically like organic eggnog and whatever, but like you watch that process of how many raw egg yolks are used because I think it's just or is just the whites, whatever it is. It's one or the other that you got to separate the yolks from the whites and do this whole thing,
Yeah.
and then it's just like
Okay.
that shit's essentially like you do cook it, but it goes like kind of like you were saying, Jess, about like the corn and like the right like dryness versus moisture. It's like this 5-degree value of if you overcook it, it turns to like a fucking normal cooked egg versus just cooking it enough where it stays liquid. And then you end up drinking it. And it's like, I can't fucking drink eggnog anymore after I've watched this. And I used to love the shit.
Now
I've
you
never
know
even
it's just,
tried it, so
now you know it's just lips and assholes. Holy,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
So
Okay, well, let's shift gears a little bit here, buddy. Get into the
let's talk about
puzzle.
the poke out back behind Jess here on that Fox of his.
Yeah. So, okay, Jess, go back to the start here. Like you said, you had this old girl now for about 5 years.
the car.
Yep.
I've actually had this car. Well, to jump back even more. So I drove my dad's 73. Then I had another car in between. Then I ended up getting it was a wrecked car, a rebuilt car, and it was repossessed by a bank. So this back in high school. So I'll date myself here. So this was back in 90. Yeah, like January 94. So
Okay.
I wanted to buy my own car. So my dad wanted me to look at, he found it was like an 88 T-Bird or 90 T-Bird with the V6 in it. And the same dealership had this repossessed. We found out later it was repossessed, but it was a 1990 5-liter LX, but it was the medium red with black interior with the sunroof, 5-speed. And I'm like, no, I have to have a Mustang. No, you should get the V6 T-Bird. And it kind of went back and forth, and somehow I got my way, you know. And it was kind of funny because actually my brother and I went half and half on it because I couldn't afford to pay for it all myself. So we bought the car between the two of us, and I was paying them back. But that car, it only had like 29,000 miles on it when I bought it. And I drove it, and I remember it was 2 days after Christmas, and I had a summer job that I worked between the off season from school, you know. So I was going to stop by because I got to be buddies with the guys that worked. It was a soybean processing plant. And so I was going to stop in there while I was small little town, 2-lane road. I was just going to take a left into this place. Well, this freaking Escort GT, I saw it coming up behind me, and it was me and my brother in the car. And I had only had the car 11 months, and this girl was going to go around us on the shoulder and didn't get far enough over and just kind of hit it corner to corner, like my passenger rear with her driver's side front. And just, she must have been doing 40, 45 miles an hour. Cause I remember we were both wearing hats, and I had my hand on the shifter like I always do, just waiting to take my left. I ended up pulling the car into second gear, stalling it. My hat was in the back seat. My brother's hat was in the hatchback, and just twisted the whole car out of shape. So that's what got me into the Fox body stuff. But then after that, it was, like I said, it was a wrecked and rebuilt car already. So I was too upset, you know. I didn't want anything to do with the car anymore. I figured it's like, you know, you bend a piece of wire twice, it's definitely not coming back straight. So
yeah.
But
so just get the hell with it.
Yep, and said the hell with it, and had some other cars in the meantime. And then I met my wife back in 99, and 99, we moved in together after 4 months, and family started right away. So then things kind of got pushed out. And then when we did move back to Minnesota, so I bought this car. We moved back to Minnesota in 2006. 2008, I bought this car.
Okay.
And it was kind of one of them things, you know. Nora stayed home with the kids, and it was a one income household, you know. So we were a young family, you know, and so I kind of pinching pennies, and it's kind of funny too, because when I ran across this car, I'm into motorcycles too, and way too many hobbies, and I forget what the deal was. I had a sport bike at the time, and I was thinking about getting a Harley. I think it was. I had this big, you know, it's like everyone gets a Harley at some point because you're into motorcycles, and that's the thing to have, you know. And she's like, no, we really shouldn't get a Harley. And I'm like, well, screw this. If I can't get a Harley, I'm going to look for a Mustang. And I this was in the Craigslist days. So I popped on that night, and like this thing popped up, and it was like 15 miles away from where we were living at the time. And it was a flood damaged car. So the guy was asking, I think, so this was back in 08. It had 106,000 miles on it. Like I went and looked at it. The body on it was perfectly straight. And for a Minnesota car, there's pretty much no rust on it. And the guy was asking $2,500 for it.
Huh.
So I'm like, I can afford $2,500. And I went to look at it, and it was stored for the winter, and he left it. The flood damage didn't get much up above the rockers. And he ran a body shop and a junkyard, this guy did. So he said, well, I'm leaving it dirty so you can see where the water mark is in the car. The water never got up to the computer or nothing, so to the ECM. And so I went and drove it, and he left it dirty. It was like out on a gravel road and stuff, and it was in the spring and March, so everything's thawing and sloppy. And you guys up north, and you can probably understand that probably.
Oh, yeah.
So I went and looked at it. It was just a dirty mess, but us car guys, we can get a look at it and tell what the bones look like. And
yeah, you can see past all that.
Yeah. So I went and looked at it, and I called my wife, and she says, well, is it any good? I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful. It's just dirty. It needs cleaned up.
Yeah.
So she's and it's kind of funny too, because before that, like years ago when we lived in Illinois, I thought I wanted a 73. I found a 73 Mach 1 that was like my dad's 73 Sports Rough, and I still kick myself to this day for not buying it. So that's one thing Nora said to me too, is she says, well, if it's a good car and you think it's worth it, you better buy it, because I don't want to hear about how you missed out on another one.
Right.
So I think I got a good one. So
yeah.
Good support.
No, that's true. So 08, $2,500, you get yourself a runner that has had a third of a bath, I guess you could say, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was a pretty good car. I cleaned it up, and I should have just cleaned up the carpet, but I cleaned it up once, and it seemed like the dirt kind of sifted to the surface again. So I ended up replacing the carpet, and the trans you could tell it had water in it. You drop the plug out, and some milky oil comes out. So just kind of did some of that, and it needed new front struts on it. So I drove it from 2008 to 2019 just as a runner. And, just a decent looking car, and nothing spectacular. And you could tell it showed its 106,000 miles, but it also looked good for 106,000 miles. And I put 20,000 miles on it over those 11 years and had it stored for a couple of summers, because we were living in a little townhouse at one point, so I didn't have the space to keep it. So it was down at my dad's farm for like 2 or 3 summers. And then just, with the family and everything and things being a little tight, I just kind of collected parts over the years. And I know not everyone's the biggest Coyote fan, but when the Coyote came out, it's like my eyes just got this big, I'm like, and I still remember one of the first transplanted cars that I saw with the Coyote in it. It was this beautiful 67 Mustang coupe. And I see it at this one car show with the hood popped open, and just fucking drooling over it. And so I'm like, I got to have a Coyote in this thing, so.
And that's how that unfolded.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, buddy, because I've got a video saved of one of the first Fox bodies that I was aware of that was Coyote swapped. And I'm trying to think how far back that was. I mean, probably, I don't know. It would have been like early on, like of the Coyote era, right? And I can still remember the video. The guy gets out of his car, rigs his phone up on a rock or something, like right at ground or tarmac level, and then he pulls off with whatever, sending this Coyote to red through every gear. And I'm like, yep, same as you. Jaw on the floor. This is the path. This is the route, right?
Yeah.
And
I kind of sealed the deal too, because I had an F-150 before with the Coyote in it, and did louder exhaust on it and everything. And that thing moved pretty good. You step on it to pass a car, and it got up and boogied, and then I'd look at my son. It's like, God, this is like a 5,500 pound truck. Imagine this engine in my 3,000 pound car.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. So when did you said you were kind of collecting parts for this over the years. When did you get the Coyote?
Gosh, it was before all the COVID shit. Because it was kind of funny because I knew I wanted to put a T56 in it. And when I found this engine, it popped up. It was out of a wrecked 11 F-150. So it's a Gen 1 truck engine. Then I was talking to the guy on the phone and I said, and I told him what I wanted to do. And I told him I was looking for a T56. He says, I got one of those too.
Oh,
and it
combo
was
deal.
kind of one of them stories. It's like, oh, this guy is like, well, I was going to put all this stuff. He said he was going to put it in a 67 Cougar, but he said he was going through a nasty divorce, one of the nasty divorce stories. So I took him for his word. Luckily it's turning out well, but took him for his word, you know. So it's like I told my wife, I said, I'm just going to go look at this engine, and he has this transmission too, but I'll probably just take the transmission, I think, and forget about the engine. And I ended up talking him down a little and got a pretty good deal on the whole package. So home it came.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was probably like 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I kind of did the same thing with the IRS under it and picked that up from, probably seen them on like Facebook. It's that Midway Mustangs. It's it's down in Iowa, like the Quad Cities. Yep. But ended up picking up that rear end from him. So
okay, nice.
So I'm glad I did that 5-6 years ago, because now you guys know, a lot of people know they're probably twice as much, 2.5 times as much to buy now. So
yeah, 100%.
But that was always my dream too. I'd seen that once on another car years ago, and I'm like, that's like my dream thing. So then started thinking about it more. I'm like, yeah, got to put these dreams into action. So
true. Did you okay, sorry, back to the motor trans, was it married together, or did you have to track down a belt housing and go down that road?
Yep. So like I said, I was tracking on parts for years and years. So anytime something popped up on Craigslist or whatever, I'd jump on it. So some guy just south of the Twin Cities, I forget, I think he had a Fox body too with a Coyote in it, but he wanted to get rid of the manual trans that he had and go to an automatic. So he had the bell housing. So yeah, I picked up a lot of parts used until I started getting to like the K member and A-arms and coilovers and all that crap. So then I had to start biting the bullet and paying for new parts.
Right.
But
and then the IRS, so did you have to go through it all, or I mean, was it out of a low mile car? How did that all work?
I don't know what the mileage was on the car, but I ended up going through it. I did the whole deal where you reach out to Maximum Motorsports and you paid like $80 or something. Then you take that $80 off of whatever parts you ordered. But like they got their whole questionnaire on the website. It's like, well, what engine, what trans, what do you want to do with it? What size tires and wheels do you want? And I forget how many questions it is. And then they come back, well, these are the shocks you should use and the struts you should use and the spring rates you should use. And so that's a pretty neat deal. So, but then they recommended, I ended up going with the race setup. So it's got all the aluminum shims for the differential. And the guy said, well, it'll be kind of rowdy. You'll hear a bunch of noise up through the chassis and everything. I'm like, screw it. Let's go.
Let's do her. Yeah. What is it worth to go through an IRS these days, Jess?
What's it worth?
Yeah, like how much did it cost you to essentially rebuild that IRS?
Gosh, I bet you make sure they're not listening. I don't know. I forget what the whole kit was. I could look back. I got a whole spreadsheet, but I'd say $1,000, give or take. So if it was $1,000 or $1,200 or $900 or whatever it was. So, and it's kind of weird too, because I ordered a lot of these parts over the years and stuff. So I had a whole spreadsheet from years ago. So I had my spreadsheet started before all the COVID shit. Yep. So then I like ordered some parts like as I could afford to or whatever and tucked them away on the shelf. But then like COVID hit and then I ordered some parts after that. And it's like, I looked at my spreadsheet. Well, like this part should have been $160 and now it's $240, but
Yeah.
Just as an example, I'm just spitballing some numbers, but to make the point. But
Totally. Oh yeah, no, it happened. Yeah, because and what gear set did those IRSs come with? Is it a 327?
I think they're a 355. At least
Oh,
that's
are
what's
they?
in it right now. So
Do
I
you know,
want to say
Chris?
it was a 355, but I'm not
Not
100%
100% sure. Hey, I got an IRS frame sitting beside the shop here. I can't even get rid of the thing for like $300.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I know
No
there's a few
definite
people trying
or
to sell frames for them and stuff, but
No, like the bushings have been all redone. But yeah, you'd need your diff in there.
yeah.
right?
But you know, a lot of people, the problem is the poke that it causes, right? So
Yep.
you get an inch and a quarter poke on each side as a
Yep.
result.
Yeah, I know.
So
I did a lot of research on that and reaching out to other people. It's like, well, what size wheel and what size tire can you fit on the IRS? And like the typical answer I got was a 255 tire and still have
Right.
it sit under the fender. But like I wanted to go nuts with it. So that's
yeah.
why she looks the way she does.
So what
I'm like,
size
Right.
tire is that on there now?
315s all the way
Nice.
around. I'm like I wanted to go big.
Yeah, we're not fucking around here. Okay,
No,
I
we're
like
not
it.
screwing around at all here, buddy.
Well,
I still
now
remember when I got them mounted on the wheels. I looked at my son and we were both standing out here looking at them just stacked up on the floor. And I looked at my son Owen. I said, I should have went with the wide tire.
well, you're not pissing around in the front either, are you? Like those are pretty wide as well.
Yeah, it's 315, a square setup.
Oh, it's square. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
going bonkers here. So I'm going pretty
I'm-
aggressive and kind of looking back at it. Sometimes I kind of question my decisions, but I'm like, well, I'm in it now. Let's do it. So
Yep. Yep.
that's
we're
what I
down the
wanted to do
garden.
from the start. I wanted something really aggressive looking. So
Right. So, okay, when did like the current teardown / rebuild start?
well, I first started tearing it apart in 2019. And my
Okay.
son's got that's more to the story, but like my whole YouTube stuff, I've basically done that to kind of document what I've been doing and everything. But I originally started tearing the car apart back in 2019, October 2019. So that's the last time I drove the car. But
Okay.
you'll probably like this, Gary. Well, probably both of you. But I know you've talked about Rangers, Gary. So, but my
Okay.
son, he's a gearhead too. So him and I are freaking
Thick as thieves.
yeah. And I think sometimes I'm more immature than he is too, and he's a 22-year-old guy. So, but I think I'm making up for last time. I grew up pretty quick on the farm, so I think I was more mature at 16 than I am now.
Yeah.
But he's got a 92 Ford Ranger.
Nice.
But that was his whole thing because we had dirt bikes before, and like Chris was asking about the bikes, but I got a bunch of bikes here.
Okay. Yeah.
But we're big into mountain bikes, and we had dirt bikes before. So he's an old school kid. He likes a stick shift. He likes a manual transmission. So he wanted a 2-wheel drive Ranger with a stick, and that was his kind of criteria. So we found this 92 Ford Ranger. And it's on my channel too. And but I saw it later in the week. It was like a Thursday, and I forget what it was. We were going to be out of town that weekend or something. This guy had it on Craigslist for $700. And it was a V6, like a 3-liter V6 5-speed. He said it just been sitting, and he was going to use it as a project truck at some point, but he had too many projects. And he had like when we showed up, he had a few cars in the driveway. He said he had a 67 Camaro tucked away, and just, your typical car guy, like a retired age car guy with just a collection of stuff. And he's like, I'm never going to do anything with this. I just want it to go to someone who's going to do something with it. And for being a Minnesota truck, it was a pretty solid little truck. Like it had the full length running boards from from the back of the front wheels to the front of the back wheels, you know, so
Oh, yeah.
the whole bottom of the cab and everything was, especially for a northern rig, it was really solid. And he wanted $700 for it. So we went and test drove it. And my son Owen was 14 at the time. So, and he was out on some dead end gravel road. So we took it up and down the road, and you could tell it was sitting for like 3 years. And I think it was running on 4 out of the 6 cylinders. Plus it had like 5-year-old gas in it. So it couldn't hardly run on its own. But I had called him on a Thursday, and I said, well, I'm going to be out of town. And I said, yeah, have you gotten a lot of calls on it? He says, yeah, I've gotten a lot of calls on it, but no one's come to look at it. So I said, well, we get back on Sunday. I'll call you Sunday night. And if you still have it, we'll be there on Monday to get it. And sure as shit, it was still there. And so we go over there and drive it up and down. Like I said, it ran like ass, but it ran. It moved under its own power. So I kind of whispered to my son as we're driving, and I said, let's lowball him and see if he'll take $400 for it. Just like it was completely worth $700, but I'm like, it's worth a shot, And the guy didn't even fucking hesitate. He says, sold. He says, the only deal is you have to keep me updated and send me pictures as you get this thing back on the road.
400. So, you can't even get a tire for $400.
No.
Jeez. Right.
So that's how we got the Ranger. And then he's like, we should V8 swap this thing. I'm like, no, you're just some goofy kid. You don't need a V8 in that thing. So he drove it for like 1.5 years. So I got to give him kudos for that. And like when it was cold out and the engine was hot, it wouldn't want to start. So he'd have to let it sit for half an hour. Just all that, goofy old car shit. And so then what finally happened in it was it had the hydraulic clutch and the slave cylinder went out. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for it. I know you want it. Let's do something fun with it. So this was a 5.0 5-speed car. So all the original drivetrain out of here, the 5-liter 5-speed's in his little blue Ranger now. So we kind of did a little swap-a-roo. So I spent from 2019 through, I don't know, like 2021 or so. And we spent a lot of time working on his little truck. Before I really, that's when I really started tearing into this was 2021. Like, I think it was Christmas of 2020. So when I really started tearing into it, but then I was kind of slow going. I'd be working on it for a little bit, then other stuff. And
what are they like to swap, Jess? Is it just motor mounts and transmission mount and you're essentially off to the races, or like?
It was actually pretty simple. So I had heard that tri-Y headers for a 65 through 70 Mustang would bolt on and work in the Ranger.
Yeah.
And we just had to put a couple little notches in the passenger side, the upper part of the frame rail to clear the headers, the long tube headers. And then there's a company called Rick's Rangers, Rick's with a Z.
Okay.
But they make like a little adapter plate. And then they said to use motor mounts out of a 4-liter Ranger. And then you could use the 4-liter Ranger motor mounts, and then this little adapter plate that they had. It was like $70. It was like a couple of pieces of flat steel that were kind of machined out and had the holes in the proper spots. I think that's what it was. And the damn thing dropped right in.
Really?
Yeah. And then I think we had to move the trans mount back, but I'm trying to remember. I think like on the one side, the trans cross member, it just kind of comes up next to the frame, and on the driver's side, it comes up next to the frame, and on the passenger side, it just sits on the lower side of the C channel.
Yeah. And
I think we had to move it back a couple inches. So it's just like drilling a couple different holes in the frame rail and moving it back or back.
That's it.
I'm pretty sure it was back. And it's kind of neat. We found some bucket seats out of another Ranger, put them in that truck. And then it actually moves the shifter back, I don't know, like 5 inches if I had to guess. So we had to like cut a new hole or extend the hole for the gear shift. And it's kind of neat because you kind of sit and then the shifter is like almost next to your thigh and your hand just rests so nice on the shifters. You're cruising down the road. And
perfect.
So yeah, he's had a lot of fun with that.
Huh. And then what, I guess, custom drive shaft?
Nope.
Same drive shaft.
Original Ranger drive shaft.
No shit.
Really?
Yeah. It just happened. It might be a tick on the long side, but it fit. And we're like, well, let's run it until you have an issue.
Totally. Same splines into the T5 and everything?
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. It was actually the hardest part about it was like marrying up some of the original like chassis harness from the Ranger to the engine harness for the 5-liter.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you guys kept it fuel injected.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Huh.
So were you able to like retain all the factory gauges and just like the sending units would all work?
Yep.
Ranger
I think all the gauge, I'd have to ask him. I don't drive the truck that much, but I think most of them work.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
I
That's
don't
awesome.
think it
cool.
has a tack in it. So he got one of his buddies gave him one of the little mini tacks that he had he had like an old dent side truck that he got rid of. So he pulled a bunch of stuff out of it. And
Right.
yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. That's awesome. So is it just a little like regular cab Ranger too?
Extended cab, just the extended cab short box 2-wheeler, and the back end sits up kind of high, and it's still got the original 7.5-inch rear end in it. I'm like, just see how long that'll take the abuse, and like just do all the stupid kid stuff and have fun, See when that thing lets go, he's welded up the spider gears in it, so she's a posse. And I told my dad about that. He's like, that's kind of dangerous. I'm like, he's a kid. I'm like, let him do the kid stuff.
Yeah, especially when you go to pull into the high school parking lot and you're just hopping along, doing.
Yeah, I always get a kick and laugh about it every time he backs it out of the driveway because you hear him turning onto the street there and just skipping around the corner.
That's awesome.
It doesn't really make a difference either if both tires are spinning. So,
totally. Okay, boys, do you guys remember? I know you'll remember the truck, but I'm wondering if you'll remember the year that it came out. What was the Ranger Splash edition? You remember those yellow step side Rangers?
I want to say that's newer.
That's a newer style, though.
Yeah, I want to say that's like the rounder front end. So probably after because his is a 92, 93. They went to the rounder front ends and everything. So it's got to be newer than that.
92 still the square headlight, like kind of bull nose deal.
Yep. That's what Owen's Ranger is. So
right. Okay. So and then they went to the next one, which when did that go till? 98, 99, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not good with all those years for those ones.
Yeah, it'd be somewhere. It's that look up to like the late 90s for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And then when did they go away? Was it into the 2000s?
Yeah.
Early 2000s?
I want to say it was close to 2010-ish.
Okay.
Something like that.
And now you can get a Ranger Raptor.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and I don't know if it'll come around. Like, I mean, Rangers just, I don't know, maybe because they kind of come from our vintage, right? They hold a pretty special place in my heart. And I just can't help but think every time I think Ranger, I'm like, okay, what's the coolest thing about a Ranger? And I'm like, those little Splash Edition yellow step side regular cab trucks. I'm like, what a beauty find that'd be. But I haven't seen one of those in the flesh in years.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I saw one of those little step side Rangers not too long ago around here, but it was pretty rough looking Minnesota truck. So
yeah. Because I don't know if this is right or not, but I want to say that might have been like a 94 thing. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
Yeah, because it's kind of that's like when yellow became cool again, like right around your Speedster, convertible that you love. So it'd definitely be right around that era. Because I'm trying to think too that there's like that's when like the Typhoons and the Cyclones and the all these weird splashes. Like it was this whole era of these weird limited edition mini truck SUV things.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember going to college. One of the guys that went to school for the same thing I did, he had one of those Cyclone trucks. So he was kind of the cool guy to talk to,
Yeah.
Back then. And it was probably only a couple years old at that point. So it's like, Yeah, he's got some money. He's got the cool little truck.
Oh yeah. Well, it's so funny too, thinking back on those times, like, if you're talking horsepower numbers and like what used to be considered big power, right?
Mm-hmm.
A buddy of mine had an S10, and it was probably like I don't know, 90, like later 90s, maybe 97, 98, something like that. And he had a supercharger on it. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like this is big time. You know what I mean? And it was just a supercharged V6. And I mean, it made all the right noises and it did, like, pound for pound get up and go pretty good. But like that was sort of the level of, craziness at the time. I mean, at least for us kids, sure, there was old boys horsing around with like, big power small blocks and whatever, or big blocks.
Mm-hmm.
But like 400 horse in those days, like that would blow your skirt up real quick,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some
you
buddies
know?
of mine had like the older generate, like the more boxy ones, like that are
Yeah.
even smaller, right? Because it's funny, all those always evolved into like bigger bodies. But yeah, one had like a massive um, motor in it on nitrous. It was lime green because, of course, that was cool.
Yeah.
And my other buddy, so he had like the bed cover with the blow through of the cab, so it was all subs in the fucking back. So it was like this insane stereo truck. Um, but yeah, man, those things were just so versatile. Like whether it was because they were tiny and small and you wanted to go fast with them, or if you
Yeah.
wanted to, outfit them with stereo or whatever. And they were so easy to lower to the ground and throw some wheels on. Because I think that was
Yeah.
the thing, right? Like you'd take Blazer wheels and put them on the S10 or something. Or IROC wheels. Maybe it was
Yeah,
like you
Yeah.
put IROC wheels on them. Yeah, that's what it was.
that
Totally.
sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, and it's kind of funny to think back on now. I quite honestly can't tell you what people were doing to put, say, like a 305 small block Chevy in an S10 at the time. I mean, I can't help but think, did they just call Earl down the street with the old stick welder and go, "Hey, Earl, light me up here, right? We're putting a small block in Johnny's S10."
I
Like,
think 100%. Like my buddy
yeah.
had what's the little Toyota truck? I forget because Mazda was the B2200 or whatever, right? And
Mhm.
Toyota had
Yeah.
some similar
Tacoma.
look. Tacoma. Yeah, so the tiny like first generation thing, and he had a Chevy 350 in it, and
Really?
yeah, him and his dad did it in their garage. And dude, like his dad was pretty crafty. Like half in it, like cut an exhaust pipe on a slant and welded it into the B pillar, and that's where the antenna was.
Oh,
So it had like a rounded pie cut thing in the
Hmm.
side, like shaved handles, crazy like lowrider paint scheme that they all did like in the garage. And I still remember the truck had overheating issues because the motor was so big you couldn't get a big radiator in it. So they actually made a cradle under the truck and welded another radiator, like literally flat underneath the passenger side floorboard. And the thing was
extra
slammed to the
cooling.
ground. So they had to like put crash guards around where this secondary radiator was to keep it cool.
Unreal.
Yeah.
That's
But
wild.
dude, the truck was fast as fuck. Like the old ratchet shifter.
Hmm.
Oh
I
yeah.
used to just fucking hammer the, 1, 2, 3. And oh yeah, no, that truck, tons of stories.
The old slap shifter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Like, I can't help but think that because, nowadays, especially with the internet, which we didn't have then, right?
Mhm.
Like, where would you go to find a set of motor mounts for something that, an uncommon motor match goes to or doesn't go to,
Mhm.
And especially something like that. Like a Toyota was never designed to have a goddamn V8 in it, you know? Especially not a North American one. So, yeah, like this was just hillbilly engineering, I
Mhm.
think.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was, man. Like, well, and I guess this day and age, there's lots of stuff. It's pretty easy to find. Well, I think manufacturers don't deviate too far away from things. Like they've learned how to repurpose or reuse a lot of old shit. So that's why we always find these weird cross-reference things like, oh, well, use this out of that and it's going to work in this. Right. And like the fact that, right, like Ford and Ford is now Range Rover. And
Right.
magically the hub size of a Range Rover and bolt patterns the exact same as Ford is now, when it used to be the crazy.
Oh,
Did he freeze on us? Yeah.
Because you know I love my Oz wheel, right? So I bought a set of 22-inch Oz wheels and Range Rover bolt pattern for the day that I knew I would end up with a Range Rover one day. Well, ultimately, Brittany ended up with it. But sure as shit, now it's Ford bolt pattern and Ford hub size. So I needed to get adapters for the wheels. And the problem was the offsets no longer work, because the offset was built to bolt on your traditional Range Rover Sport with no spacers or anything else. So I got like the smallest fucking adapters that you could get, like super shallow, like nuts. And man, it still had poke. So
Really?
yeah, I was like, this isn't going to work. So I ended up, I sold those wheels. They're on Jordan's Lightning. So he's running adapters on his Lightning to run those wheels. And then I got Britt some new Range Rover fitment wheels. But again, to the part, right? So now it's like, okay, go grab any whatever Ford wheel. You can bolt that on your Range Rover. And, you know, it's, you know, I could speak from the Ferrari side of things. It's like, oh, your F1 pump goes out, buy the Maserati one, because Maserati one's a third of the cost and it's the exact same part.
Right.
And even funny enough, BMWs, the E36s and Fox bodies, exact same fuel injectors and exact same O2 sensors. So guess what? When my E36 and the $300 oxygen sensor went out of it, grabbed one out of the Fox body, plugged it in, and away I went. So yeah, I mean, there's this whole thing, and I think people just, you know, now with the power of the internet can be like, oh, well, that part number is the same as for that over there, so we can make this work and find a way. Because what's the point of making everything proprietary? Then you'd be like Apple.
Yeah. You know, the only damn shame that I can ever see coming.
By the way, new iPhones are USB-C. Brittany just finally got one, and I'm like, welcome to the fucking real world with your lightning cord or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah, they are.
Yep.
I know.
I'm the only one here that's not Apple in our household, so I catch a lot of flack from everyone else.
Well, I was going to say, boys, like the only thing that could really mess this path up that we're on from an automotive perspective would be like a solar flare that wipes out all this data, all this ability to communicate with one another, and we go straight back to fucking stick welders welding motor mounts into shit. Because you know what I mean? Like you think about the amount of information that, let's say, you know, your neighbor would think that you have, you know, just from all the trials and tribulations and shit you've learned over the years. Like, you know, they look at you like a bloody encyclopedia. But I'm the first one to put my hand up and go like, you know, you could be in the middle of XYZ project and go like, fuck me, how does that work again? Like shit. Because you only got so much hard drive space, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes to these like way out there things, like you're saying, Chris, I mean, post solar flare, if I see an what is it? E-whatever, E36? Yeah. Sitting on the road, I'm going to go, fuck, I need no O2 sensor, right? I got to get down and get some water to fill my fucking bathtub or whatever. Now I know. I'll rob those goddamn O2 sensors out of that thing. But like, how are you going to remember all this, right? Like if the internet ever goes away, we're fucked.
Yeah. Well,
you know?
And to your point too, right? I think like if we're talking engine swaps and motor mounts too, right? Like you would think, oh, you need a specific K member that's going to accept the Coyote, which in a lot of cases, yes, sure. Same thing with the Godzilla. But I think QA1 is the only company that's caught on to design their K member in a generic way that takes different plates that allow you to either bolt an LS or bolt a Coyote or bolt a small block, all using the same K member without having to replace the whole damn thing. So,
Right.
Which is pretty smart. And I think there's two ways to look at it, right? It's like, oh, we can design this proprietary piece and then force everybody to have to buy and exchange, right? Because you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot as you're like, well, if somebody's going to go from their small block and now they want to put the Coyote in, whole new K member. Well, now they only need to just buy these stupid little adapter plates and boom, they're done. But that keeps probably their manufacturing costs down. Maybe the margin can be higher at that point because now they can sell to 3 or 4 different markets of people. So I don't know, it'd be like a really weird science to explore, because at one point before the internet, 100% people would just be like, nope, this is the only way. You got to do it this way. Done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd almost think that they'd probably have like a broader reach and probably sell more products to the competitors, just because it's like you said, you got LS, Coyote, Godzilla, you know what I mean? Like you're sort of one-stop shop with various plates to mount whatever motor you want, versus the next guys that are like, no, you need this K member, and that's the only thing it's going to work for. So I think it's better business, but fuck do I know. Okay, Jess, back to the Puzzle Fox. Christ, we go down some fucking tangents here.
What K member did you go with, Jess?
Maximum Motorsports. It's mostly Maximum Motorsports parts under it. So,
well, I guess suspension and the rest of your suspension and everything else, it kind of makes sense. You just got the whole catalog under there.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, did the Coney yellows, the adjustable shocks and struts. So, yeah. Then I think I forget what the spring rate is on the coils though, but they're pretty stiff coils. But like the first time I drove it, it's stiff but compliant is about the best way that I can explain it. You feel like you're in a go-kart, but there's still some give there, but it's not. What little bit I've done, it's not too bouncy, but well, as you can see from the poke there, I need to do some surgery before I get too crazy. Me and my son took it down the road, and like one little dip in the road, and you hear the tire scuff, and we both kind of do the little frown, look at each other and frown a little bit.
So which flares are you going to do? Like, are you getting a kit, or are you going to do some homemade stuff?
Well, just to get it on the road for the summer, I'm just going to kind of hack it up. And I just bought like some $80 like fender flares off of Amazon just to stick on so I can drive it and enjoy it. But my ultimate intention is I'm a sucker for DIY and making myself suffer. So
you're in good company here, buddy.
I went to Harbor Freight and they had an English wheel on sale. I'm like, because that's one thing that's always intrigued me too. Like you watch all like Jesse James on the West Coast Choppers where he's like forming his own damn fuel tank, and that just intrigues the shit out of me. I'd love to learn how to do that stuff. So I want to do my own steel fender flares on here at some point. So
nice.
Good for you, buddy.
If you actually know, it wouldn't work in your case. So down at Martin Brothers, they made a die for their Pullmax that replicates the body line of the door and like the quarter panel in the back. So they actually created a section because they shaved the gas door off the pace car that they're building, and it was kind of rotted and it had been hitting that corner. And let me tell you, like that die and the way that they form that thing, like that body line it's crisper than factory, which I'm like a huge advocate of. It looks so damn good. So and fabbing that stuff and getting it the way that you want to look and everything else, I think that'll be extremely rewarding, because a lot of those, there's nothing that I hate worse in the wide body world than like Liberty Walk. Like, let me just drill holes and bolt these flares. It makes me think of like an F-150. You know what I mean? That just it has rotted out fenders, and they just like
I
machine
saw one
screwed
of
on
those the other day
flare.
cruising down the interstate, and
Yeah.
one of the rear fender flares was falling off, so you could see all the rot that was underneath that he was trying to cover.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, no, I'm excited, man. And like obviously the most challenging part that you're gonna find is like right behind the door, like to get where the molding is to like flare it out, and same thing with your fender, right? To just kind of get those angles in and out.
Yeah. I have kind of a picture in my head. It's just kind of a matter of bringing it to life. So
Like,
I
are you
know,
gonna like what's the approach? Like some spray foam and shave it down and like kind of get a template, or and then kind of build something off that, or are you gonna
that's a
just
good
go for the
question.
metal and the forming?
I think I'm just gonna try to do the middle and the forming. Start out with some poster board and kind of figure out the shape I want, figure out the steel I need. I found a buddy of mine got me hooked on this YouTube channel called Crucible Coachworks, but they're like doing their own custom car. They started out with a Porsche Boxster, and they're like building their own body on it out of aluminum. And then they're also doing the one guy, he's doing a drift Gia. So he's got a Porsche 914 body with the body chopped off, and they put a Carmen Gia body on it. He's doing a wide body out of steel on it. So I'm just freaking, whenever the new episode comes out from their channel, I'm freaking glued to that.
Right.
Just like I said, just all that middle forming and shaping and stuff, it just intrigues the shit out of me. So
it's always grabbed my attention too, buddy. There's so many things like that I just wish that I guess I had more energy and more like awake hours in a day. You know what I mean? Because it really truly is something that I think if you want to do it at the levels that I probably hold myself to, there's going to be a lot of commitment to be decent enough at it to be able to put something on a car. I mean, but you know what? Maybe I'm just making an excuse by saying that, because like, who gives a shit at the same time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just give it a go rather than what I'm doing right now, which is like, oh fuck, I don't have the time, or I where am I going to find the whatever, right? It's like, fuck it, just do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I bought these other fenders for. So you can see it's got the yellow or orange or whatever on it now. That's my practice fender.
Okay. So you start with the front, and
that's kind of what I figured. I'm just gonna hack it up for the summer, and of course it's got the Maximum Motorsports K member with the other arms. So the front wheels are moved forward 1.5 inches, so I'll have to move my wheel arch ahead or whatever I need to do for that. And with those big wide wheels, I have to make sure I have some turning clearance.
Yeah. There's a car, actually, I think there's been a couple of them now, but there's one I know for sure. I've saved it off of Instagram somewhere on my phone. It's I want to say it might even be like, no, it's not Nardo gray. It's more of like a gray white coupe that's easily sitting on like a 315 or wider square set of wheels and tires, and it's wide bodied, like fender flared, and it's got the Cobra lower front fascia on it. And it's one of these whatever track attack cars.
Yeah.
And I know that looks not for everybody, but I mean, that thing really speaks to my soul. Like, especially from something like the road you're going down. I'm like, that thing's just got cool written all over it. At least how my DNA is set up.
Yeah, there's actually a guy from Toronto area, and he used to be on the forums, that has a black convertible of all things, and has actually he's a 315 square setup, kind of the exact same road with a cage, and it's purpose, like he takes it on road course and track and everything, and like a wealth of knowledge, like right down to like aerodynamics and the splitters and the spoiler and downforce and all this shit that he was like calculating out when he was doing all this. If I can find that info, I'll send it over to you. But it's it's a 10-footer car. It's not perfect up close, but like it's purpose built and it's functional. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, super cool, man. I think like you can't be mad for those builds, like with those Cobra lower front fascias or whatever, wide body or fender flares. Like if you're driving the car for the purpose of those things, nobody can really be mad at that.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Like these
Yeah.
drift cars, you know what I mean? Like there's drift Fox bodies out there, like not the stupid fucking takeover idiots in Cali,
Yeah.
but like
Yep.
properly built drift Fox bodies and like whatever, man, you want like however many degrees of steering and this and that and one wheel doing this and that. Like, hey, if you're drifting it and doing that, all the power to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And that's kind of what I wanted to build this car for too. It's like my big thing is I want to do it all myself, and that kind of what motivates me. Like we put a deck on our house, and I got a friend of my wife's. He's a contractor by trade, and then he's got other friends that are engineers, and he's like, engineers should never build a deck, and because you'll never get it done, or you won't be happy with it, or it won't be done right. I'm like, fucking bets on now, buddy. I got a freaking 16 by 20 deck on my house, and I did all that damn thing myself, and I don't care what they say.
totally. Yeah.
Like that's
Good for
the
you,
first
buddy.
thing you can do is tell me that I can't do it. It's like fucking game on.
Oh yeah. I know. I often think of Back to the Future, like old Marty McFly getting called chicken, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Are you yellow?
yep, yep. It's time to go. So, okay, buddy, on the 315 square setup, what are your plans to steer that goddamn behemoth?
It's got like a rack out of an 03 Cobra under it. So
Are you just doing a manual steer,
Power.
or are you?
it's power steering.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Because like I said, originally it was going to be a street car that handled really well. So I got, like when I bought all the power by the hour brackets and all that crap, I got all the stuff set up so you can run air conditioning and everything. And now I'm kind of like looking at it. It's like, why am I running AC and heat in this thing?
Hey.
But oh well,
Hey, so
I'm
I
down
got
the
a
road
question
now.
for you. On since yours is a Gen 1 as well, did the power by the hour accessory drive like kind of make it a little noisy?
I haven't driven it enough to really notice, but the last time we drove it, it became a parts runner this weekend, so I was pretty happy about that. And me and my son took it for a little rip, and the parts store is only 2 miles away here. So, but I didn't really notice anything noisy. But I think I have an idler pulley or something. Like I said, it came out of a wrecked truck, and it sat in some guy's garage floor for a while, and then it sat in the corner of my garage for 5 years or whatever it was. And we were coming back, and I thought, well, let's give her a little pull. And my son was watching. He said, "You already hit 6,000 RPM." So she's a screamer. But then I like pulled back, and I was just behind our house here on the county road behind our house, and then it started squealing. And as I was coming to a stop, and it's still like trying to figure things out, so it stalls all the time as you come on and off idle and everything. So I came and pushed the clutch in. Well, then it stalls after it just started squealing. So here's me freaking out. I'm like, whoa, what the hell's going on? So we fire it back up again, and it's like, well, there's no squealing. We turn the corner into the neighborhood, then it starts again. So I stop in front of our house. I'm like, then I finally fired it up, pull it back in the garage, and start it up again. And it's got to be a pulley or something on the front end of the engine, just from.
I know, like without the drive, I want to say there was an issue with the AC setup would like make a ticking noise that a lot of guys complained about way back in the day or something like that. But I think like once you do all the power by the hour stuff, things gets relocated all over. The reason why I asked, because I got this convertible, it's a Coyote swap, a Gen 1 Coyote swap. And it's just kind of like the accessory drive sounds a little noisy. And so I asked the guy, and he's like, yeah, no, as soon as I put on the power by the hour stuff, it started doing that. Now, with that said, something could be out of alignment or same thing, bad pulley or something else. But
no, I never heard this engine run until a couple months ago, and it had the power by the hour on it. And that's the only way I've ever heard it. So I don't have
a reference,
anything to compare. So
right. Oh, all good.
Yeah. So it's got an AC compressor in it, everything right now.
Yep.
Right.
Nothing's hooked up. I just got like all the lines capped off and everything, but it's on there. The belt's routed around it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, cool, buddy. I know I seen your little clip of you guys driving and I was like, fuck yeah. Like, long time coming.
Yeah. It's been a long time in the making, so it's exciting. It's kind of surreal, and it was just a great night too because we had just a few clouds in the sky. The temperature was perfect. It's like, is this real?
Right.
So
yeah,
no, it was awesome.
And so the plan is to get it to, you're pretty close to, but like to whatever point you can to just kind of rat around in it this summer and see what it's all about.
Yeah, just kind of work the bugs out of it. My son, like I said, he's a car guy too. He's got a little Volkswagen GTI. That's his daily.
Yep.
So he started autocrossing last year, and that's kind of was the original intention. Ever since, even before I bought this car, that's what I knew I wanted to build it up for. So,
right.
Or at least partly,
Right.
So I just kind of want to get it out and like get it on. There's a technical college just south of the Twin Cities they do like police training and like semi-truck driver training. So they got like this road course back behind there. So they have like little mini track events and stuff back there. So,
cool.
So I just want to get it running and like get some bugs worked out of it before I pretty it up. So.
Right. And then, I guess the following winter or whatever, maybe start pissing around with the English wheel and seeing what the metalwork's all about.
Yeah, that's what I figure. Next winter it'll all come apart again. So get my practice.
Okay, so Jess, I got to ask you. I seen your post from, I don't know, maybe it was a little over a month ago now, where you and Nora went in and both bucked all your hair off.
Yeah.
And okay, can you tell me the story behind this? I read this post. I showed my wife. I'm like, look at these two. I'm like, it just never ceases to amaze me, the shit that you guys get yourselves up to. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, we're always up to something. Okay. Well, the story kind of goes back quite a ways. My mom passed away from cancer back in 2000.
Okay.
So, and I was really close with my mom, a lot closer with her than like with my dad even. So she was like, if I was calling anyone, I was calling her. But, so I graduated college in 99. She passed away in March of 2000. And I was always kind of the guy, like, well, I grew up in the early, I graduated high school in 95, but I was kind of one of the late adapters and late ones to get rid of it. I had the mullet and I had a gorgeous mullet, back in high school, when I had the waves and the curls and stuff.
Okay. What do you call, like if you're in the deep South, it's the Mississippi mud flap. What do you call it up in Minnesota? The Minnesota mud flap? I
don't know. All I know is you call it a mullet. So
right.
I had the gorgeous one. I had the light blonde hair and the curls and all that stuff. So I thought it was a killer mullet. So
yeah.
But I always wanted to grow my hair long and stuff too. So then after my mom passed away, and Nora and I were just dating, or had just started dating a few months at that point. So she got to at least meet my mom. And but then after she passed away, and then after a few years, it's like, I want to grow my hair out and donate it. But you have to have like 10 inches or 12 inches of hair or something like that.
Yeah.
So then I'd always start growing it long. And then she's like, well, I don't like that long hair, because you get to that awkward phase where it's not long enough and it's not short enough, and you just look awkward, So then she'd tell me that she didn't like it. And so I'd end up cutting it off. And it's like, damn it, I shouldn't cut my hair off. And then it kind of gets up to in 2022. So I think I did a YouTube video about it and may said a little bit about it. But so in 2021, I went to see a doctor and they found a murmur in my heart. And they said, well, we're just going to check you every year. And it's nothing to worry about. Don't worry about it. Well, I went back in 2022 and like right away at the start of the year. And it was kind of weird because I'm sitting in the doctor's office and just doing the thing, getting the checkup, and they came in and they said, "Well, do you care if like a studying doctor or a doctor that's going to school looks at you, or a student looks at you?" I'm like, "I don't care. Just do the checkup and we'll do our thing and we'll be on our way." So she comes in there and she's doing the thing. Well, take a deep breath, take a deep breath. And she's listening. And she kept going on and on. Well, take a deep breath again. And I'm like, okay, she's asking me to do this way too much. What's up? And then she's like, hold on a second. I'm going to go get your regular doctor. And so he comes back and he's doing some listening. And he's like, well, we're hearing something. It's more than just a bad murmur. Oh. So they're like, we're going to have to send you in and get some testing done. And so that was like January or something of 2022. So I went in February and got an MRI, and then I had to wait till March to talk to someone. And they said, well, what they told me was it's my mitral valve in my heart. So it's on the side of your heart where it takes blood. I'm trying to remember right now. It takes blood from your lungs and pumps it into your heart. Well, that valve, they said, wasn't working at all. I had as much blood going backwards as I had going forward. And they're asking me all sorts of questions. It's like, do you get winded fast? You wake up in the middle of the night not being able to breathe? I'm like, no, I take my dogs for a walk in the park, and I feel like we got a nice little city park with like hiking trails in it. I'm like, well, I think I get winded more than I did before, but I just chalked it up to age. It's like, I'm not a young buck anymore. I was 44 at the time. I'm like, I'm getting to be an old dude now. I figure I'm just going to huff more.
Yeah.
And so then I basically went from the end of February, and I saw a doctor like the beginning of, like into March, and scheduled heart surgery. So I got a titanium valve in my heart now. So
no shit.
April 27th of 2022. So just a little over 3 years ago now, I had got the good old scar from here down the front of my chest. I had open heart surgery. I got a little mechanical ticker. I tick like a freaking clock now in a quiet room. Oh yeah. Yeah. My son, he's got really good ear for noise. And if we're in a quiet room together, he says, Dad, I can hear you ticking.
Really?
Like, oh, that's good. Then that means things are working.
So I don't want to interrupt you, Jess, but like, does that rig run on batteries, or how does that work?
It's a check valve.
Really?
A mechanical check valve is simply what it is. Because I remember waking up and I was talking to the doctor, and I said, well, because they said, well, we can either try to repair it, we can replace it with a tissue valve, but then they say tissue valves, that's more for people that are nearing the end of their life. So if it's like an 80-year-old dude or something, that's the tissue recipient.
They'll buy them a couple months or whatever. Yeah.
And then, but if it can't be repaired, then we could do a mechanical. He says, well, what do you want? And they said, well, if you get the mechanical one, you'll be on blood thinners the rest of your life. I'm like, I don't freaking care if I'm up kicking and breathing every day. I don't care what's in there. So it's like, he says, well, then it's a one and done deal. I'm like, sign me up for that. I don't want to be doing this again.
Holy Christ. So how do they amalgamate titanium into like heart tissue? That's wild.
I'm not exactly sure how it is, but there's something, I don't know if it just kind of heals itself in, and there's something around the edge of it or whatever. And
and
I'm not 100% sure.
True one-way valve. It'll just let shit go in and then slam shut. Valve.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted.
Because it literally ticks. Because I remember waking up and I could hear it. It sounded like it was like up behind my ear, up in my neck, and I could hear it tick, 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 just like a watch ticking, like a clock ticking. So
yeah.
Nora just loves it because she'll like put her head on my chest and she's like, "That's just the coolest thing ever." So,
right.
Like, yeah, I think it is too. I'm still here talking to you. So
yeah. Oh shit. To get news like that at 44, I mean, good grief.
Yeah. And that was the thing that always, it kind kind of irked me, it's like you'd be in for all the visits leading up to the surgery and stuff. And they're like, you're getting a valve? You're kind of young for that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. No kidding.
But
yeah, who needs a 5-angle valve job at 44? Me,
yeah.
I guess. Shit.
Well, yeah, that's part of the story too. It's like, well, then before I had the surgery, I told my wife, I said, it's like, this is something I wanted to do forever. It's like, now's the time. I'm like, I don't care what anyone says. I'm growing this mop out and I'm donating it. So I'm like, I'm blessed with a full head of hair. I'm like, I should be able to bless someone else with a real wig. So
too cool.
So
yeah, I
so
know.
after the surgery, I never got I just got like trims and stuff because I wanted it to be nice for whoever would end up with my hair. So
yeah.
Then so March 25th of this year was the 25th anniversary of my mom's passing. And that was Nora's idea too. She's like, well, let's do it on the 25th anniversary. So, and she had let her hair grow too. So her and I both went in, got her hair all chopped off. And as my dad would say, I look civilized again. So
too old farm boy. Hey, get over here, long hair. We're going to shear you up. Yeah.
Yep.
Unreal, buddy. That's wild.
So I finally got that one checked off the list and got my hair donated. So
yeah. That's so cool, man. Okay. And then Nora's in a wheelchair. Do you mind me asking what the story there is?
Yeah, she's pretty much an open book about that. So again, it's one of them things where she'd rather have someone ask her about it than stare at her and wonder. But yeah, she was in a...
I hate to say it, but that's kind of always been me, I guess. So here I am asking, right?
Yeah. No, she had a car accident when she was 16 years old and got thrown from the car.
Really? Hey?
Yeah, it was April 19th of 94. I was kind of thinking she was probably listening, and correct me if I was wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right. She was just on her way to school one morning and she said she had a little Geo Metro, and she's got pictures of the car, like after the accident scene and everything, in a little scrapbook somewhere. But yeah, a little Geo Metro with a manual in it, and just a country road. She lived like 10 miles outside of another farm town and was driving to school one morning has no idea, like for like 3 weeks, she says she can't remember anything. But car lost control, went into the opposite road ditch and hit a field approach sideways. And I forget how many times she said the car rolled, like 3 times or 3.5 times or something. And it ended up chucking her out the passenger window. So
really?
Yeah. And so they lived like maybe 2 hours from the Twin Cities and got airlifted there. And her mom told me they had to revive her 2 times when she was being airlifted. And yeah, she's freaking lucky to be here. So she's a tough woman.
No kidding, eh?
Yeah.
So, and now she's paralyzed waist down. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. She's got some movement and feeling and stuff in her legs and different spots and everything. And
right.
But
wild.
Yeah, she's got kind of a fun story too. She's a freaking wild woman. She's like, since her accident, she's gone skydiving and back in her younger days and stuff. She's a freaking wild woman. So but,
nice.
But yeah, when we first met, her next older sister was getting married and she wanted to be able to walk down the aisle. And at the time, she had like braces, like ankle braces that came up just below her knees. And she could walk with the hand crutches that you hang on to that clip around your forearm,
Yeah.
But she had just enough strength, and she did a bunch of practicing. And the guy she walked down the aisle with at her sister's wedding was about my same size. So when we were first started dating, that was part of one part of our date. Like if I went over to her place, she lived in this apartment building with a long hallway. So we'd practice walking up and down the hall.
Right.
So
that's cool.
Done that in a while, but
yeah.
She's a tough one. So,
and I mean, you saying like, you guys, whatever, skipping through life like all the rest of us do and figuring things out. And obviously, times are tough here, tougher there, whatever. I mean, you think about throw in something like that in the mix where you guys are trying to find a place to live, and obviously you got to take all these things into consideration. Because, like, I mean, I think about where I'm sitting right now. I mean, where we sleep is up, I don't know how many, but let's just call it 18 or 20 stairs. Like, this place wouldn't be of any use to you. You know what I mean? Like, how the hell would?
Yeah, it's amazing some of the shit we've done. Like, we lived in this one townhouse for a while, and it was like there was 2 bedrooms upstairs, but there was 1 bedroom on the main level. But it was the master bedroom upstairs, so we made do with this other bedroom on the main level. But to get down to like the living room and this other bedroom, it was 2 steps.
Yep.
And so I made like this little hokey ramp. I shouldn't say hokey, but I built a ramp so it took up like a quarter of our living room that was there. So it get her down around the corner. But then there was like another wall, like right in front of, like halfway blocking these steps. So I built like this hinge section of this ramp that I built her so that it would fold up out of the way. And then I made sure I built it so that it was light enough and put handles on the side of it. So she'd go down the ramp, and to get back to this bedroom and bathroom that we had, she'd just grab a hold of this handle and flip that section of the ramp up out of the way. And you do some kind of take some ingenuity into account to make things work. So
what's that meme that's going around with all like the rigged stuff? It's like technology or technologia or whatever, and it's like crazy like inventions, and like some of it's like really bad, but it's just funny how these guys are like the basic stuff of like I guess whatever, like ropes and hinges and whatever, like that was technology back in the day, right?
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I guess it's like anything. Hey, you just make do. But I mean, for those of us that, you know, don't sort of see life through that lens, right? Like, we take so much of these things for granted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just wild to think. I mean, essentially, you'd be looking at life through the same lens as everyone else, but you would just be looking at completely different obstacles. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Was there like a tough transition time for her, like between when it happened and everything else, or was it enough of like a, oh my God, I'm lucky to be alive? And
I don't know. I'd have to ask her. I guess I've never really asked that. I know she struggled. She was in the hospital for 3 months, and this was, so we started dating in 99. So that was in 94. So 5 years before I even knew who she was. But yeah, I know she struggled, like had to do physical therapy in the hospital for 3 months. And I know she said there was a lot of times she didn't want to do that because it hurt or she was too tired or whatever. So
I can't even imagine the mental side. Hey, like, Christ almighty. I mean, I think to myself, like, oh, you know, like, whatever. I think I can get myself through various things, and I can work long days, and I can do all these things. I'm like, I can't hold a fucking candle to the wind to what Nora has been through. Like, you know what I mean?
I appreciate hearing that. So, but the thing is, she doesn't think anything of it. You know, it's like, this is life. You know, it's like,
what are you going to do?
This is my everyday. This is what I do. And because she doesn't think anything of it, because I know people say the same thing to her. It's like, you know, you're so amazing that you do all this stuff. It's like, well, I got to live.
Well, I think too, like the fact that she was fairly young, like obviously, you know, it doesn't seem like it held her back that much, but I think it'd be challenging, I think, being older, right? Like you just, because you remember something being a certain way for so long that it's almost that much harder to adapt. At least I would think. I don't know. So that's why, you know, I think it's great that, you know, that obviously she's managed to, just that's normal. That's normal for her.
Yeah.
That's fine. You know?
Yeah. Because I know she'd get looks sometimes, and I know, Chris, you're into the sport and you got a CBR and everything, but before we had kids and stuff, we rode motorcycle all the time. She hasn't ridden much since we had kids, but I had CBRs before and we had kids, and hell, we'd hop on the bike. We had a whole routine figured out where she'd ride on the bike with me, and I'd just pick her up out of the wheelchair and I'd put her leg on the side of mine, kick both our legs over. I'd have the helmets next to the bike, hand her helmet. I'd put mine on, and we could get on and off a bike as fast as any other two people could get on and off a bike, and just had a whole rhythm down. And yeah, and like, I know she used to get looks a lot, like going to the grocery store with two little kids. Our kids are 17 months apart. But she'd go into the grocery store and she'd get looks like, are you here alone? Who's helping you? It's like, I'm just fine. I'm like, can you reach me that? I can't reach it.
Right.
And that's like one of the worst things you can do for her is assume she can't do something and like offer to do it for her. It's like, no, you wait till she tells you she can't do it, and otherwise you're stepping on her toes.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, but that's the kind of person she is. So,
okay, Jess. So you guys would obviously have like at least a vehicle rigged up where she can drive it by hand controls, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah,
because she gets that too. It's like, you drive yourself?
Well, which I'm definitely not ignorant to that stuff, because actually I see a fella running around town here, and I mean, he's got a full-blown hillbilly deluxe lifted up pickup, all bells and whistles, and he's got this like high ab crane arm that he can just hit a button and it'll swing his chair around for him, drop it right down, and boom, he's out and he's gone. It's pretty slick to see.
Yep. No, I wouldn't say that you're that way, but she gets that from other people sometimes. It's like, well, how do you do this? How do you do that? And even like silly questions. How do you get in bed? How do you use the bathroom? It's like, you figure it out.
You totally do, right? Just like anything else. But I mean, I think it's just, it's a good reminder of like all the shit we take for granted, right? Because you think to yourself, I mean, hell, I've said it, my wife said it, like you have one of those days with the kids, and it's like, if you could sit yourself down for a minute and go, hey, fucko, you still have the use of your legs. Poor Nora is yarding fucking two screaming kids to the goddamn grocery store in a wheelchair. Like, fuck, what are you sorry about? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's just funny. She doesn't think that way. So
good for her, man. Fuck. I mean, that's just amazing. I love the fact that she is wired the way she is, you know what I mean? And like, doesn't let any of those obstacles, because I think to myself, I like to think of myself as a fairly strong-minded guy that can, work myself through shit and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I hate to say it, man, but I think something like that would really fucking throw me over the edge.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm sure it affects everyone differently. So,
yeah.
Dude, when I popped my ankle and what was that, 6 to 8 weeks or whatever, I was a miserable guy. Like, seriously.
This is what I mean, dude.
Like, I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to do anything. And it's like, fuck, like, I got to take a bath, which I hate baths. Started trying to stand in the shower. Like, man, it's, and I think it's a little bit different mentally. I think when it's like a temporary inconvenience, because part of you feels like, oh, okay, maybe I could have done something differently because this is just temporary, but something, like what I'm going through now.
Yeah.
Is okay, this is a bigger picture, long-term, real life thing. So, you know what I mean? It's like, if I don't, if I shouldn't be drinking alcohol, or I need to change my diet or whatever for 6 months in respect of the rest of my life, it's bigger picture thinking. So I think that's like a lot of the difference, right? That's why I asked. So like, because like if you were in a car that rolled 3 times and you got ejected from that motherfucker, and you're laying on the ground and you're actually able to be like, holy fuck, I'm alive. Like, I wouldn't care if my legs were missing at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
so that's like me with the heart surgery. Now I'm on blood thinners. Well, alcohol is a blood thinner.
Did you ask them if you could substitute beer for the pills?
I did once, just to get a rise out of them. But yeah, they didn't like that question too much.
Right.
No, all they told me is it's like, well, you really got to limit it. You should only have a few beers a week or whatever. And then the one thing they did tell me is, well, with being on the blood thinners, it's if you are going to have a couple of drinks, you can counteract it with vegetables with greens in them, because the green in the vegetables typically vitamin K, which is a blood thickener. So, so I may try some greens with dinner tonight, so I could have a couple with you.
You knew you were coming on with the boys.
Yeah.
I like it. No, man, I was gonna say, like, I'm a whiny bitch with a hangover, let alone not the use of my legs. Like, honestly, it fucking seriously puts me on my heels. I'm just like, what an absolutely amazing human being to like have that outlook on life, you know? But again, I know to your point, Jess, like, you know, you don't really know until you're in it. And you know what I mean? Everybody's whatever, dealing with different shit. But I don't know. From my vantage point, I just think to myself, wow, you know, it really blows my mind.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
So, okay, buddy, what's it like? I'm here I am being extra curious again. Like, what's it like outfitting a vehicle to be able to just drive with hand controls?
Well, that's not too bad. Well, we actually upgraded. Well, I don't know if I'd call it an upgrade, but I think you guys have, or other people too, have given flack, but we got her a Subaru now.
Oh yeah.
So we're one of those people. But she picked it out. It's like, you know what? It's your car, and I don't know, it works out good because it's got the hatchback on it, and I can put the chair in the back without folding it down. And it's one of those. It's got like synthetic waterproof seats in it, so it works good with the dogs. And like in the winter, her chair gets all the salt and snow on it, so it melts all over everything. So it's nice and it's easy to clean up. So. But she loves the little car, so I actually like it more than I thought I would. But yeah, like when you buy a new car, they give you a mobility money, basically they call it. So they'll give you, like most manufacturers. I know we had a new Ford car for at one point, or Pontiac, whatever it was at the time, and then they give you like $1,000 to put towards mobility, and then they'll reimburse you for it. But man, hand controls have gotten expensive too. They went from like being $300-400 now. When we got this thing, it is kind of cool though, but it's like $1,000 now, or it was right around. I think I had to chip in another $60 or something. But this one, he's like, well, do you want it so it ties into the OBD? Because the ones we had before, so I got probably like 3 or 4 sets that I've taken out of cars we've gotten rid of. Because I've had other used vehicles, so then I just put them in there myself. But it's just a hand control that comes up. It's up by the steering wheel. You pull down on it for the gas, and you push forward on it for the brake. Which we had an old 2-door Grand Marquis at one point, like an '86 Grand Marquis. It works great for doing burnouts.
Brake stands is a whole new deal.
Car too, just to show her sense of humor. That car to show her sense of humor, but with this new car, it ties into the OBD. So it's just got a rod down to the brake, and then it's got like a little button, like a hidden button that you can push, so you can turn it on and off for running the throttle. But it runs through the OBD instead of having an actual physical rod running down to the gas.
Technically, because you're drive-by-wire, right? So it's technically just an electronic signal instead of a mechanical actuation. Yeah,
exactly. And they said, well, that's like $100 upgrade. I'm like, I don't know, sounds cool. Do it. But yeah, it's got like a little button under the dash. You push a few times, and then it'll turn it off, so you can actually use the throttle pedal. So like when I drive, I push the button 3 times, and if she hops back in after I drive, she pushes it 3 times, and then it actuates, so it uses the hand control throttle instead of the foot throttle.
Fuck yeah. So, and this is all going on the right-hand side of the steering wheel?
Left-hand side.
Oh, fuck. Okay, so what happens when you're...
She's got the nice little speed knob on the steering wheel, and then the hand controls.
Oh, the old suicide knob.
Yeah, you got it. So I get all used to driving that. I love driving with that. And crank it around with one hand on the little speed knob, you know.
Yeah, take you back to the farm
days on the old tractors, where you had to turn the damn steering wheel about 3 times around to make it around at the inrows. So
you know what? They should almost just make cars like that by default, and it'd keep people off their fucking phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you need 2 hands at all times to be operating that anything. You know what I mean? Unless
Yeah.
I guess you got the
don't wanna
cruise
watch-
control.
You don't want to watch Nora drive sometimes. She's got it down so she can use one hand.
Oh,
She'll have one hand over on the hand controls and just her thumb up on the steering wheel. And
Right. I wonder, okay, so this has got me thinking though, because like obviously everything left of the wheels, like signal lights and shit.
Yep.
So if you're well, I guess probably the only time that all of this would come into effect, let's say, would be nighttime driving, pulling out to pass somebody,
Mhm.
going for the signal light / high beam, right? And
Yeah.
getting on the throttle. Like you'd have a whole bunch of shit going on the left-hand side of the wheel at once.
Yeah, she's got it down pretty good because the hand control lever kind of sits kind of at a lower plane than like what your signal stock is at. So they're kind of offset, but she's got it down where she can have her hand kind of resting on it and work the turn signals or
Kinda
whatever.
like poke a finger through and just grab it while you're going
Yeah.
around with the knob.
Yeah.
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 Huh.
She's got it all down. She's a good driver. So
Yeah. Too cool. Yeah, fuck man. There's just so many neat things. I guess this whole drive-by-wire thing really revolutionized this mobility side of things. Hey, like, because
Yeah,
shit,
because
everything
even
before would have been like shafts and fucking hinges and whatever,
Yeah.
right?
it could be
Yeah.
wrong, but are some new vehicles the brakes not brake by wire? No, it's steer by wire. That's
Yeah,
For their
I don't know.
electric.
I think so.
Yeah.
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 Like you could almost
Yeah,
sit there
and-
with a joystick, you know what I mean, and just be
Yeah.
like, "This is how I'm gonna drive."
I'm not good at video games. I wouldn't be good at that. So
See, I can't help but think that a lot of this shit would be way easier with, well, actually, I don't know, because a steering wheel is going to go around like 2.5, 3 times. But I was going to say I can't help but think like so much of this would be easier in like a handlebar scenario.
yeah.
Where you had like hand throttle, right?
Yep.
Like twist throttle or thumb throttle, whatever, and then like
Well, you know what you need? You need the zero turn arms.
Yeah.
That's all you
Right.
need, man. Forward, reverse, left, right.
Yeah.
Let's mix into this. We're buying Nora a tank.
Yeah. At least to get her a little skid steer or something,
Yeah. No,
Yeah, you'd have-
but yeah, because we have snowmobiles too, and she rides snowmobiles, so that's all.
Oh,
it's all
shit,
hand
yeah.
controls. As long as you can keep your ass on the seat, you're good to go.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, you get her some Velcro or whatever, right? Slap her on there and she's good to go.
Yeah, like I said, she's got some use of her legs and stuff, and she's got a really good core support. She can balance herself just fine,
Right.
like on a snowmobile. But I felt bad for her because we bought a new snowmobile for her a couple years ago, and then she rode it a little bit, but then we had a couple winters with no decent snow.
Yeah.
And then but we went and did a trip one time. So my son rode it out to like this restaurant that was like 40 miles away, and then we were going to switch spots, and she was going to ride it back. And because my son was dating a different girl at the time, so they rode our sleds out to this restaurant, and then we were going to switch spots, and then we were going to ride back. And we were riding with a group, and poor Nora, she just wasn't used to that thumb throttle, and her thumb got sore, and she's like creeping along, like just trying to figure things out. And I see her stop in the trail, and the poor gal, I like walk up to her, and she was damn near sobbing because she said her thumb hurt so bad. And then we were kind of in the back of this group, and then the group started going again. And so we come up to the next stop, and I check on her again, and she's still struggling. I'm like, well, I'm going to have you ride with me, and then I'll have someone else ride her sled. Well, by the time I finally decided that, the group we were with decided they were going to take off again. So I told her, I said, just stay here. I hopped on my sled and just hauled ass, and I like pull up ahead of the front guy and just cut him off. And I'm like, dude, we got to stop here.
Right.
So then they went back, and I think my buddy's wife rode our sled back because they were riding 2 up. So she rode our sled back, and then she hopped on with me. But she was like I said, she was just kind of getting used to things, and she wasn't going very fast around corners. And then she was kind of wore out a little bit, and then we kind of get going. And I get a little bit aggressive and carried away. And she's slow, and she's pounding me on the side to slow down. And then after a little while, I'm like, well, we got to keep going. We're not that far back from this lodge we were staying at. And then like after another mile, she finally got the hang of it again with leaning with the sled and everything. And then she was having a grand old time then at that point, once she kind of got the jitters out, of being sore or whatever. So,
there's truth to that, because whenever I go an extended period without riding my bike, and it's just like that whole the twist of your wrist on the throttle, or even just like, because you're always kind of resting 2 fingers over the clutch handle and all that stuff, like you lose the muscle or the whatever, the consistency in those movements. So like you go on a long ride for the first time after not being on a bike for a while, and then it's like, holy hell, it's like, I'm going to hold the throttle with my left hand for a little while and give my right hand a break.
Yeah, especially with a sport bike. I got rid of my last sport bike last year, but I want to get another one. But I just got that big old guy right there.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you got the Harley.
No, it's not a Harley.
Oh,
don't go there.
Okay.
Well, it's a Victory motorcycle.
Oh, okay.
I've heard of them. So, but yeah, I got that from when I was working. Well, I used to work at Polaris, so Polaris built Victory motorcycles. So I kind of grabbed onto that guy. But yeah, I always rode sport bikes before, and like I said, Nora rode with me, and she got used to it too. Like she'd ride with me, and she'd have her arms around me, and like especially at this one place we lived, it was downhill to a stop sign, and she'd just lean on me, and you're hitting the brakes, and your wrists are just wrenching back. But I got her trained, like anytime I'd hit the brakes or stop, she'd put her hands ahead onto the backside of the tank and kind of hold herself up. So.
Oh, true. Yeah, because like she probably can't like clench on with her thighs on you, right? Because that was a big thing with my wife. I'd always be like, stop fucking, riding, because like you got your knees buried into the tank so you can try and keep the weight off your elbows and your wrists, right? And it's
because I remember I actually never owned a sport bike, but I had buddies that did, and the cool part about it for me was they always wanted Mustangs. I had the Mustang, so it'd be like, here's my keys, give me yours, right? Everybody wins.
Why can I picture you in like flip-flops with no fucking helmet riding a fucking like a leader bike ripping down the road?
You can or you can't?
No, I can. This is all I can think. Like zero safety, probably no shirt either. Like just
never.
Shirt, no shirt on, hair blowing, flip-flops. That's 100% how I picture you riding a sport bike.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah. And loved every second of it, right? Always wanted one. Hell, even still to this day, I've got a little bit of an itch. But to both of your guys' points, the like forearm / shoulder workout of being in that kind of inverted position on a sport bike, man, it's stuff that you don't touch those muscles in any other walk of life. Like it's actually even dirt bikes too. Like I had a bunch of dirt bikes.
Yep.
And that's a whole nother ball game of stabilizer muscles that you can't appreciate unless you're using them on a bike.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I've gone through, I haven't had that many Mustangs or just a few Mustangs, but I've gone through a lot of bikes, and I got my son on motorcycles. My mom hated motorcycles, and I always wanted motorcycles. So like when my son was 3.5, I got him his first dirt bike. But between bikes I've owned for my son and then bikes I've owned myself, I got to be up around like the mid-20s for different bikes I've had. So,
so I was the opposite. My mom loved motorcycles, and there's damn pictures of me in like a fucking car seat in the back of her Honda Shadow. And so I'm growing up, I want a bike, you know what I mean? And my mom's, no, you can't have one. And I'm like, what is this? So like I didn't get into it. I think I was 30 when I finally went through and just committed to it. And I was like, YOLO.
Yeah. I was the dumb college kid. I bought my first one when I was in college. So Like, oh, it was like $900. I got $900.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kicked it all off.
So Jess, in Minnesota, and I mean, Chris, this would go for you like out in Ontario. I don't know how the licensing works, but I know I can explain it like from British Columbia's standpoint, unless this has changed, but I doubt it. When you go to get your bike license, obviously you need your class 5 or whatever it is first, right? Your car license, truck license. And then you go to get your bike license. But depending on the size of bike you take on your road test is what your license is limited to. So if you show up on a 600, you're capped at a 600. Actually, I think there's something weird about the 750s. I want to say maybe a 750 is the max you can be if you did your road test on a 600. But if you want to take a 1000 and prove that you can do the road course and all that shit, then you're whatever granted into that realm.
I can't speak for Ontario 100%. Like I know in Texas, until not too long ago, you just walked in and said, "Yeah, I have a motorcycle," and they said, "Okay."
Oh, really?
Here's your license.
Yeah, Minnesota actually.
And I think Florida, you didn't even need it. It's just like if you rode a bike, it was fine. Like you didn't even need a license as long as you had a car license. You were fine to ride a bike. But that's all changed. I know that. Dubai.
So that was back in the day.
Yeah, but like this is not too long ago. Like within our time frame, like for sure. Dubai, you had to go through like, no, you're doing lessons, you got to do this course, you got to do all the, emergency stop, swerving, blah, 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 which is all great stuff to practice and learn and go through that. But once you had your license, that was it. Like whatever, you want a Busa, you want a, leader bike, whatever you want, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Minnesota's kind of the same way. You can, as long as you're over 18, you can just go on and take the written test, and then you get your permit. Then you're not supposed to like drive after dark or something like that, or you're supposed to ride with another, like a group or something. You're supposed to, kind of
someone with their full license.
Yeah. And then once you go on, then you just go back and take your driving test. They have you do some maneuvers and like an emergency stop and a few things like that. Then you could show up on a 125 and take the test, and then you can walk off the parking lot across the street to the dealership and buy yourself a turbo boost and kill yourself. So
right.
So I think Gary, because it's graduated in Ontario, so like that's M1 and M2. I think when you're on your M1, like Jess was saying, it's like no, after dark, blah blah blah. And I think you might be limited to CCs, but once you get like past the test, then it's like anything goes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I know when at least in Minnesota, I know because my son did it. He got his motorcycle endorsement when he was 16 or 17, so he could ride with me on his own bike. But when you're under 18, you had to take, there's that Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They have like a basic rider course, and you had to do that if you were under 18. Okay. But then that also counted as your driving test too. So once you did that motorcycle safety course, you could go right to the DMV and get your motorcycle endorsement.
Okay. Right. Yeah. It's funny because I remember actually, this one like could have gone real bad. I remember riding with a bunch of guys on one of my buddy's bikes, and had bikes before. So like had a really good appreciation for bikes and braking and, maneuverability, all that stuff. But there was a guy that had just come out of working up north on the rigs and, pretty much spent his whole fucking paycheck buying this bike, but had his license, like went through and did all the bullshit. And anyway, we're riding through the town I grew up in, and we go to take a corner as you do. And nobody was going over the speed limit. We were all driving as one would. But anyway, he just went into this corner and for whatever reason panicked, got on the foot brake, fucking locked that back tire up and went straight into the bank. Like just lawn dart, you know?
Hmm.
And he was kind of in and around like my peripheral. So like I just sort of looked over and seen the whole like straight arm panic, oh shit
Hmm.
kind of momentum. And I sort of watched him going to that bank. I'm like, holy fuck, man. Like literally helmet first. You know, I'm like, he's done. He's toast.
Ugh.
Anyway, thank Christ he was all right and just ended up having a couple fairings to replace, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, I remember thinking to myself that I'm like, dude, what are you doing getting on that back brake? Like, fuck, smarten up, you know?
Yeah,
But I
lean and
mean,
accelerate.
well, that's just
Yeah.
it. And again, boys, I'm no expert here, but I mean, I know enough to be dangerous. And I mean, you can walk around through a parking lot and look at street bikes, and you see that fucking dead center, like inch and a half a tire worn right out, and you're like, that's a new bike owner. Like they do not know how to ride that bike and probably should not be on the road, you know?
Yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about that in one of our pods, right? Like some people you either got it or you don't. And
Hmm.
Right.
I think the most important thing on a motorcycle is actually braking.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because like
Proper braking. Yeah.
that's just it. Because a lot of people, right? You brake or you think you're going in too fast, and you get target fixation, which fucks you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to go wherever you're looking.
Oh yeah.
So that's I think the best thing that I personally ever did. I want to say after doing my bike training and everything and passing, it was probably my fifth time, like out in the open. I went to a track on a KTM 1000, um, and like just did a track day.
Hmm.
And it was probably the best thing in terms of, you know, really trying to get a sense of things. Cause like, that's just it. People don't realize, same thing with a car, but you don't feel it on a bike. You're like, you're going into, you know, a corner at 100 mile an hour, where in your car, you're probably maybe doing 60 on that same road.
Hmm.
Underneath the same conditions. You know what I mean? Like if you're being a dumbass about, you know, pushing the limits, well, you got to brake for that, or
Hmm.
you got
Yeah.
to know when to slow down and when to go into that corner. And corners come up that much quicker when you're going that much faster. So I think that's a lot of it, where people just kind of get that, because it's time. It's always a corner, man. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
always I'm going too fast, or I got fixated on a target, or something came out, or
Yep.
hit the rear brake instead of like, it's like 80-20, or I forget what the thing is, like 80% front, 20% rear. Like it's
Oh
there
yeah.
Yeah.
for a reason. That's why you learn the emergency stopping. Like you're not going to do a fucking endo if you know how to brake properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you look at sport bikes too, or a lot of bikes, you look at the fucking front brakes, you got two
Yeah.
huge rotors on a
Yeah.
sport bike and one dinky one in the back. So
The rear
Totally right.
brake is to control your wheelie. That is it.
basically, yeah. I don't know how many times, like I had a CBR 929RR, but I don't know how many times I'd come up to a stop and you'd be on that front binder hard and you'd like barely touch the rear brake and the rear brake would be locking up. There's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
that little pressure on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I seen a guy post the other day that the Isle of Man race is coming up. And I know you two have watched it, but for anyone listening that has never looked this shit up, this is incredible.
I want
Like,
to watch.
oh my
You'll never
God, dude.
catch me riding that shit, but I want to go and watch.
Yeah, I'm on the same page as you. That's actually on my bucket list, is to go and watch that race in person. So
Yeah.
Well, the thing with it is, boys, prepare yourself, because you're probably going to watch someone's soul exit their body. Like,
Oh,
you know,
I don't think there's been one where someone hasn't passed.
no,
Unfortunately, like it's part of the thing. You're
it,
literally going there to, you know.
yeah. For anyone that hears us talk about this, do yourself a favor, pause this, go on YouTube and find someone that has a helmet GoPro or, you know, gas tank mounted GoPro on the Isle
Mhm.
of Man. You will think it's fake. Like, you'll think it's fast forwarded, and it ain't. These fucking guys are on the absolute edge of control. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. And you know, another thing too, boys, and I used to like get lost just watching sport bike races. I mean, and it's even crazier now than what we used to watch. But to see those guys come like into a corner, literally like shifting from side to side to side. And there's a timing to all that where it's like, I'm going to take a right. My last little shimmy is going to be on my right side, bang to the left, and I'm down literally with my tits on the pavement.
Yep.
You know, it's fucked you really need, if you haven't, watch some of this stuff to try to appreciate it. I had a buddy growing up who actually rode for Ducati for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, not because, you know, he was born with a silver spoon or any of this shit. This guy literally cut his teeth with hand-me-down bikes and putting himself in situations where he was fighting way out of his weight class, but just had, you know, the screw wasn't quite fully torqued. You know what I mean? He was right on the jagged edge of fucking nuts. Anyway, he was good before he even went to Ducati, and then he got better, right? And I'll never forget that guy. He'd come by my mom's place to see us, right? And he had an R1, beautiful bike. And obviously being part of the R1 race or the Ducati race circuit, this guy had all the tires he ever wanted, right? And then some. So he would show up to mom's house, and every time I'd go out and look at his bike, and honest to God, there was like a quarter of an inch of rubber fucking spun off the sides of both sides of his back tire. Cause like this kid, the tits on the bottom of your pegs that are kind of there for like to warn you, gone. No, fuck all there. Like worn right off, you know, like the things this kid could do on a bike was just wild. And actually end to end in our valley growing up, you'd see these really odd, you'd hear even people talking about them in like the local stores and stuff. They're like, you notice all those weird little black teardrops all over the place out on the highway? What's fucking Chad? Like he'd go end to end, like 45 minutes on that back tire. And when he came down, he'd make one of those teardrop marks. Cause you know, the back tire starts spinning backwards when you've been on the the front tire starts spinning backwards when you've been on the back tire that long. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely unbelievable guy to watch, you know. But no, that it's an impressive profession. One that I don't know, the levels that those guys operate at is just outside of my realm of appreciation. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. So yeah, watch the Isle of Man.
Yeah, I might have to go watch the Isle of Man now.
I know, like I want to say, because I just seen this post yesterday, so maybe it's this weekend for all I know.
Right.
Like to see those guys going by those fucking 100-year-old rock walls and shit. Like, oh man, like you can't stick a business card between their knee and that wall, you know? Fuck. And like I say, those gas tank views, like when you're watching that speedometer, you're like, that can't be real. This must be AI. But no. They're literally going down the road 300 plus.
Yeah. Oh, it's insane. On like city streets too. Like this isn't like a track.
Yeah.
This is, you know,
little narrow European streets with stone walls next to them. And
yeah. Like that road had a fucking ladder on it this morning. And now we're running sport bikes up and down at 300. Like,
yeah,
it's unbelievable, man. Fuck.
Anyway, 6 days of racing. There's qualifying, I think, coming up. 6 days of racing starting May 31st, running through June 7th.
Oh, we can make it still.
Oh,
yeah, perfect. There you go. Buy your tickets now.
And Isle of Man, that's Scotland, is it not?
Ireland.
Ireland?
What?
I think so. I think Ireland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just some little island. I think it's between
like it's its own thing, but like I think Ireland is like your main point.
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, that's where my wife was born. She's got an Irish passport. Why the fuck haven't I been to this?
You need
your
to
ass
get
in
her
gear.
into street bikes.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. Okay, so it's its own standalone island, like off of Ireland.
Yeah, it's an isle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's there's special banking out there too in the isle. I think there's different regulations.
Oh, like this is one of those shelter areas where you can bury cash. Huh. Noted.
Yep.
If I ever stumble into some cash.
Well, hey, your wife's from the area, so take advantage.
I know, but she's been gone so long, right? No accent, no nothing. I mean, she may as well just be a regular old Canuck like me. But yeah. Well, and actually, like Chris, you saying about Nora having her wreck as young as she did. I think there might be some truth to all that too, because I know they say that even about accents, where if you leave wherever you come from, in and around that like younger teen years, chances are you're losing your accent, right? Like you amalgamate just into the next thing.
No, right.
I think that sounds about right, because Nora's mom's actually from England, so she's got a lot of family over there. But her mom moved. Her dad was in the Air Force, so they met over there, and they moved back here. And yeah, her folks, Nora's folks, farm in southern Minnesota too, not too far from where I grew up actually. But yeah, right. She's been back here. She's been in the U.S. Well, she's in her 70s now. Moved here probably when she was 20-ish, and her accent, I think it gets a little weaker over time, and then she goes back home, and then it gets a little stronger again, but it's never gone away. And Nora's oldest sister was actually born there, but she was probably like 2 or something when they moved from England. But I guess she started talking there, so she had the English accent when she started talking. But there's nothing there now, of course, since she was so young when they moved back here.
Right. Yeah. Because I know my wife's parents still have it, right? Thick as thieves, but none of the kids do. And they all came over in that kind of early teen years, right? So, but to your point, well, especially with the Irish, right? They like their beers. So you get over there, right? And the fucking Guinness is flowing, whatever. And next thing you know, right? You're like, what did you just say? Like, holy Christ, I can't even make sense of all this.
Yep. Yeah, I know Nora's got some relatives that she's got one, it's her cousin, but the first time I met him, he talks so damn fast, and his accent's really strong, And I felt so bad because the first time I met the guy, and Nora and I had been together, I don't know, whatever, it was 10 years at that point or whatever. And I met the guy the first time, and he's just rattling off. And like he'd finish saying something, and then I'd look at Nora like, what the hell did he say? Like he's still speaking English, but I can't freaking understand him. But every time I now I acclimate to it quicker. But I bet you the first time I met him, it probably took me a good day and a half to kind of, okay, this is what he's saying.
Yeah. Well, they've got lots of different nuances and sayings for things, especially the Irish, right? Like if you're teasing someone or bugging someone, you're taking the piss out of them, right?
Yeah.
Or if somebody asks you how's things or what's good, they'll say, what's the crack?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's spelled weird too, like CRAICK or something. That's how they spell crack.
CRAIC, like crake.
Right. Yeah. And then God forbid you move into the whole like Gaelic end of it. Fuck. There's no way you're getting your way through that, right? Not even with hand signals. You're fucked. You got to have a lot of Guinness in you to make any sense of that shit. It's crazy. But I will say, okay, here's a funny story for you boys. So the one time I've been over there, sadly, it's the only one time, but we go out with all of her family one night, and my wife's dad is one of 10 kids. So there's cousins and fucking aunts and uncles. I mean, they're all over the place, right? Big group of us. We all go out to the pub, and you can't drink anything but Guinness there. Well, you can, but like you're definitely looked at a little sideways if you're trying to drink anything but Guinness. And I will say, I know that people will probably call bullshit on this and say it's placebo, but Guinness in Ireland tastes different. If you've had a Guinness in North America, don't give up. Get your ass to Ireland and try Guinness. It's totally different. Okay. So anyway, it's my turn to buy. I go up to get a whole fucking tray of Guinness, right? And I get chatting with this old fella in the lineup, and we work our way to the front of the bar. It's our turn. And he goes, let me buy you a drink. I said, no. I'll buy yours because I got to get, 13 more or whatever. So I'm buying him a drink. He orders, though, 14 Guinness. And he and I are still chatting, but I could see him really asphyxiated on the guy pouring the beer. And anyway, I'm like, fuck, he's not even listening to me anymore, right? And so this guy gets like 2 into the 14 beers he's about to pour, and he stops the bartender. He says, hey, what are you doing? The guy says, you ordered 14 beer. I'm pouring you 14 beer. He says, that's not how you pour a beer. I'm like, holy fuck, what's going on here, right? And it looked like he was pouring beer to me. I didn't know. Anyway, he says, this gentleman's buying me a beer, and he's not even from here. He said, pour that shit in the sink and start over, or go find someone that knows how to pour beer, and then we'll buy beer from you. And it kind of got ugly. It went back and forth between these two. Sure enough, he goes and gets another guy, and this guy comes over. I'm so sorry, right? Like he's going back to training type thing, right? At the Guinness Foundry. Yeah, like it's a fucking serious offense to mess one of these beers up, because it's a process to get everything settled and do what it needs to do and whatever. But yeah, so I asked him, I'm like, is it really that different? He goes, you can literally taste the difference. He's like, those are dog shit. I wouldn't even
probably the way it like aerates and stuff. Because it's not Guinness. What are those ones that have the spinner in the can?
Guinness in a can does. Yeah, the little float thing or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. And that's probably part of that aeration process to try and mimic the way that you're pouring it, right? It's like wine through a aerator out of a decanter, and you pour it the certain way. And well,
or you're like us. Anybody got a screwdriver? Shove the fucking cork in there and start drinking her, right? But yeah, man, like I couldn't believe it. And I mean, I had heard whispers of this, right? Like there is a certain way to pour it and stuff, but I was just kind of like, whatever. Yeah, this dude was not having it, right? Like he was starting over.
I thought you were going to say he was like the CEO of Guinness or something. That would have been even better.
No. Okay, while I'm on the train of thought of Ireland, boys, I got another story for you. So we go to this one of my wife's cousins has a restaurant downtown Galway, Ireland. So we go down to see them at the restaurant one night, and family, right? They feed you like kings. We so stuffed, like I didn't even have room for a chew afterwards. I was so goddamn full, right? We come out of the restaurant. We got to meet some of her cousins for a beer. And like I was saying earlier, you can order other shit, but it's really frowned upon, right? So I'm like, okay, nobody looking. I'm going to go up to the bar and see if they got like a Coors Light or something, like just something that I can fucking nip away on. Cause no way I can eat a beer right now, like a Guinness. Anyway, this guy I order, he kind of gives me the look. I'm like, please, like I can't even have a water right now. I'm so full. Okay, let me see what I got. He opens up this wooden cooler with glass slats in it, reaches right to the shoulder to like get a beer out, brings it out, literally takes the cloth off the counter, wipes the dust off the neck of a Coors Light. He goes, I don't know how long this has been in there, fella, but here you go. I'm like, fuck, no kidding. Okay, so then the story gets even better. We decided when we went to that restaurant that night, it'd be real nice to walk down the ocean, take in the sights, do the whole thing. Well, anyway, we finished this half-assed dusty Coors Light. We got to walk all the fucking way back to this car. And it's I don't know, mile and a half, 2 miles. Like it's a good jaunt down the road. And halfway down the road, I look at my wife. I'm like, hey, is there a gas station around here? She's like, no. Why? I'm like, I got a shit. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, like it's getting bad. She's like, fuck here. We're only like a third of the way into this walk down the ocean. I'm like, I don't know. I'll see if I like, just give me a minute, maybe it'll get better. Dude, long story short, it gets so bad. I'm like, fuck it. I got to go down to the ocean. Like I'm going to shit in the ocean. So here's me. I didn't even do any pre-thinking either about any of this. I'm just like, if I don't do this, it's going to be in my pants. Right. So I got half of my ass on the side of a rock, absolutely scattergunning the ocean. Right. Thank God this is out of my way. I'm like, oh shit, this is perfect. And I'm like, the hell am I going to wipe my ass with? Right. I'm like, fuck. So anyway, as small town boys do, right? Off come the shoes, turn the socks into shit tickets. Anyway, we get back to she's making fun of me. We get back to the car. We drive all the way back out to her aunt's house who we're staying with. And she watches me peel my shoes off. And she's like, I just kind of walked through the kitchen and went to the room to try to get some more socks, right? And I could hear my aunt go to my wife, or her aunt go to my wife. Does your husband not wear any socks in his shoes? And she's like, it's kind of a long story. He shit all over the ocean and kind of had to leave his socks behind or whatever, right? Oh, fuck, man. First trip to Ireland, right? Set a good example for myself. Jesus Christ.
You have so many shit stories.
Yeah.
I know. Dude, there's always something, right?
So I do have a good drinking one though. We went on this shotgun trip. This when I was working in Dubai. So me and actually you met my friend Kevin and then another colleague from Australia. And we're like, oh, let's go to Armenia for the weekend and go see what Armenia is about. So whatever, hop this fucking cheap ass flight, get to Armenia. And what's the first thing you want to do? You want to find a bar and you want to get some drinks. So we find this bar like down, like this underground shit. Sit at a table and there's this pamphlet on the table, like whatever, the drink of the fucking day. And there's this thing that has 3 army helmets and it's like bombshell shots or something, 3 for whatever it is. Like great value. We'll take that. Wouldn't you know, the fucking server comes out with a fucking certified army helmet and a fucking aluminum baseball bat with 3 shots. And I don't know if it was Kevin or the colleague that went first, put the helmet on his head. And I think it was like a chick so a dude had the helmet and the fucking bat. A chick has the tray of shots. And guy plugs the fucking helmet on his head. Chick turns his head back, throws the shot down, head back down. The other dude, aluminum bat, whack on the fucking head.
Really? Holy shit.
I'm like, dude, I almost fell out of my fucking chair. I'm like, what in the actual fuck? And then it's like, okay, well, he did it. Like, I can't not
do it.
You know what I mean? Like, we're all committed, right? So the good thing is about these army helmets, they got like suspension in them. Like, there's like some sort of springing fucking mechanism, but like, yeah, it absorbs the blow. But let me tell you, like the fucking, you do a shot and the fucking ringing in your ears from the aluminum hitting this fucking helmet is like, that's how we start our fucking trip off, dude. We got a video somewhere. I gotta find it.
Holy. Yeah. Clunk, clunk, clunk.
Wham.
So it's literally like you're paying for them to abuse you. It's almost it's worse than Dick's Last Resort that we went to. You know what I mean? At least that was just some language. This was like you're getting fucking blows to the head.
Unbelievable. It kind of reminds me of like, the old whatever, big boobed, shot girl.
Yeah.
And like they could get kind of rowdy if you were tipping good with their breasticles, right? And just like bang, bang, bang. Holy fuck, what are we doing here? It's like a bar fight. You know?
Oh. But hey,
Jeez.
I do have a shit story too. And this goes way back, dude. So this was like, I must have been maybe 18. I had my silver convertible. So it was my first convertible I had. And it was after I wrecked it. I think I told the story where I went across the lawn and I fucking took out a Saturn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it did, like, it was front bumper cover and corner light that got smashed. But anyways, my friend bought the car off me because I actually wanted to get back into a coupe instead of a vert. So it actually went to Boogie's shop, which you met Boogie.
Yeah.
And my buddy wanted the engine bay shaved. So I was like, okay, well, you need to come up here and pull the motor out. So we go up to Boogie's, pull the motor out of this car, and you need to meet this is my friend Chuck. He's like the definition of a Canadian country guy. Like your guy who had the fucking beer box and the flap going in your Chuck is that guy, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, man, we gotta stop at fucking Costco, man. I gotta go get my mom like at Christmas. Like she collected those Royal Daltons or whatever. So I'm like, fuck, all right, fine. So we're in Costco, and he's like, man, we got to get the hot dogs. And I'm like,
oh,
I'm good, man. Like, I'll take the slice of pizza or whatever it is. So he gets the hot dogs.
Oh, the $1.50 hot dog. Yeah.
So he goes cruising around for this Royal Dalton, and I'm like, dude, I'll meet you out in the truck or whatever. So I'm waiting in the truck, and like, dude, like 30 minutes goes by, and this is like, I don't even know if I was like T9 texting on my cell phone at this point. Like, probably not. Like, this is how long ago this was. So I'm like, I'm not going fucking back into Costco. So finally he comes out, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, dude, you'll never believe it. He's like, I had to shit so fucking bad. He's like, I ran to the stall. I let it all out. He's like, there was no fucking toilet paper.
Oh.
And he's like, I was waiting for somebody to come in, and nobody was fucking coming in. And anybody that did, like, didn't speak English because we're like, whatever, in fucking Toronto, right? And so nobody would help him. So he ripped his boxers apart and used his boxers.
You gotta do what you gotta do. I know. Like my mom, she always knew if we took shit tickets fishing or not, because you'd come home with the sleeves going off your t-shirt, you know? You had to shit in the trees. You got to use something.
Yeah. The best one though, I already told the story, I think, of my buddy with the girls. Like, he had to shit bad and we pulled over in my notch. And he was shit beside the car, and a group of girls roll up. Is everything okay? It's like out of a movie, man. And poor bastard, no toilet. Like, I'm like fishing around in the trunk trying to find like a rag or a cleaning towel or something to give him.
Okay. I got another good one, and this one's not me, but it was a guy I used to work with. So have you guys ever heard of called the Master Cleanse? Remember when cleanses were a big thing?
Oh yeah. Like the whole paprika and water and lemon juice or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. Cayenne pepper and
cayenne, yeah.
Yeah. And so if I remember this correctly, the protocol was and there was maple syrup or something mixed in there too. I think that's literally like the only nutrients you had. So this guy I worked with, he was older than me. He decides he's going to do this master cleanse. And the protocol is you wake up in the morning and you drink, a liter. Shit. What's that in American? Quarter of a gallon of water. Yeah. Of salt water. And they tell you in the instructions of this, and it's not like this is something you buy, it's just something you do, right? So this is probably the instructions are on a forum somewhere. But you drink the liter of salt water, and then it says don't go anywhere for an hour, because this is about to explode inside of you, right? Get that over with. And then for the rest of the day, it's water, lemon, cayenne pepper, and I think maple syrup or something is all. And you don't eat anything. That's all you have for as long as you want to do this cleanse for. So Jerry is his name. Jer does this for a few weeks, right? We're always checking in with him in the mornings, right? How you doing, buddy? You know, he's like, good, you know, like everything's good, whatever. He gets a couple weeks into it and he says, fuck, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I'm starting to think I might not need food anymore. You know, like this is going so well. And he goes, I'm feeling great. I sleep great. The whole bit, right? So anyway, into the week 3, Jer's got to drive into work. And now this is when we lived in Calgary, and Calgary's got kind of interstate style shit to go from one end of it to the other, just with the concrete meridian, right? Separating the 2 lanes. And Jer's got about a 40-minute drive in every day. So on this particular day, Jer wakes up, salt water, liter of water. He hits it and he goes, shit, I waited for like 40, 45 minutes and nothing. So he goes, I thought, fuck it, let's go to work, right? And yeah, big mistake. So Jared gets into traffic and he goes, all of a sudden it hits me. I'm like, oh, fuck. This is the same thing I've dealt with for the last 14 days. It's hitting me now. And he goes, all I see is taillights for like a mile in front of me. Like, I'm not going to go anywhere fast. The poor bastard gets out. He's in the left-hand lane, gets out. He goes, I didn't know what to do. All I did is just pull my pants down and sit on the guardrail. Every car that went by me, I could just hear shit bouncing off the fenders of it. And he's like, obviously there was nothing more than water. He goes, I haven't eaten anything in 2 weeks. But, yeah, that poor fuck is painting cars as they go by him.
Painting.
Yeah, whatever you do.
Long.
I know, he's like, whatever you do, don't go anywhere for at least an hour and a half. Cause like I got tricked and I shit all over cars, you know? Oh. Yeah. Watch out for the master cleanse. It'll get you.
Oh. Well, that's probably enough poop stories for one podcast.
I was gonna say, I don't have any that I could share. So,
yeah. Well, buddy, thanks for sitting through the shit stories, and thanks for telling the story on the car and Nora and all the rest of it. This has been awesome, pal. I've been looking forward to it.
Great. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. It's awesome. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, man. Good luck with the build. We want to see you with the Sawzall hacking that thing up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure you're documenting that one.
What's that?
Make sure you're documenting the Sawzall performance.
All right, I should. Yeah. Well, the plan is to have it out at Detroit too, so I want to get it out to Motor City this year. So,
awesome.
Right.
That's
how far is that for you?
I don't know what it is for miles. I know if you don't catch much traffic through Chicago, it's about 10 hours. I've done it in 10 hours before from here. So,
right. Would you trailer it out there or driver?
Yeah, I want to trailer it. So, or I'd like to trailer it. So,
right.
That's kind of on the docket right now, is looking for a trailer.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, good stuff.
Oh,
man.
that'll be cool,
man.
Make it. Yeah. Yeah. Be a little bit of a Detroit Motor City debut for the old girl.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping. So I made it out for the first 2, and I think I talked to you guys each time I was out there, but I know we chatted a lot more this last time. So that was great. Nora talked to the wives, so it was all good.
I know that was the best part about this one, right? Because you get the better halves involved, and like that's the beauty.
Yeah.
Right.
We're trying to decide right now because she's not sure if she's going to go or if my son's going to go. So So I
Okay.
think either way, it'll be good. So
Yeah. I know it sounds like there's a lot of chatter about it this year. So I think it'll be a good showing. I mean, it's one of those shows, right? Like it just quite literally checks all the boxes, you
mhm.
know? Like birthplace of the cars, right at
Yep.
Ford World headquarters. I mean, are you kidding me? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and I spent a little bit of time out there. We used to live out by Detroit, so I actually started going back to school for a couple semesters. So I went to the U of M Dearborn. So I drove by
Oh
the
yeah.
Ford World headquarters there quite a bit. We were out there for about 3 years, so we had a membership to the Henry Ford Museum
Yeah.
there, and so then we could get into the Greenfield Village. And yeah, that was always fun because they had Santa Claus in the trains, you know. In one of the
Oh, you're
trains,
right.
they'd have Santa Claus, and the kids were real little. So we got pictures of them sitting on Santa's lap, just fucking bawling. And then it was always cool too. On Father's Day weekend, they always had a car show at Greenfield Village. So we'd always
Oh,
go out
neat.
there for that. So,
Right.
Right.
but that
I
was
know that's
always
one.
pretty cool.
I know I'm kind of kicking myself. I never got a chance to see that, right? But we did do the museum last year. Um, but yeah, that village, I mean, it's
Yeah.
just something else from
Yeah.
what I understand, right?
Yeah.
Steamships running through the lake in the
Yeah.
middle and all the rest. Like,
Yeah, the Model T's running around. You can get a ride on a Model T.
All right.
fuck, wouldn't it be something to get your head around like that aspect of Ford's financials? Like, I mean, it's got to be huge money. Like, you think about trying to like the overhead of maintaining and all the like, okay, obviously they got money coming in, you know, as far as like entrance tickets and all that stuff goes, but it'd be wild, I think, to see that side of their financials,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
it'd be like seeing Universal or Disney or whatever, just kind of on a different
Well,
scale, I guess.
I know, but this side of like, I guess what maybe makes me a little more interested in seeing something like this would be like, we all know what it costs to run a house. And in this case, they're doing that times whatever to make a whole town,
Yeah.
you know? Like, you think about the lawn maintenance, the fucking like all that stuff. It'd just be crazy,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. All the workers out there have the vintage correct garb for
Yeah.
the era for whatever building they're in, or the guys driving the Model T. They look like they came right out of 1918 or whatever, you know.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, and they're obviously going to have some sort of a maintenance crew to like maintain those old Model Ts, which
Mhm.
you can't just run that to the local garage. Hey, fuck, we need to work on this old flathead, you know?
Well, it's there on site, man.
Yeah, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well,
That's neat to think, right? Like that's like pretty much a functioning town. The only thing they don't do is sleep in it.
well,
Yep.
we saw how many people were cruising around. Like, you think all of that admission plus whatever they're paying at the restaurants for food and the merch and
Yeah.
all that stuff, right? Like, obviously, it's making money.
Yeah, and even like the museum ticket wasn't cheap.
No,
Mhm.
Like, you know, not that it was like thousands of dollars or anything, but like I I I can't I think it was at least 50 or 75 bucks just to cruise the museum, I think, right?
yeah, I think
I'm
you're
trying
Does
right.
that sound right?
Yeah, it's a little chunk of change.
Yeah.
I'm sure
And then they're
whatever.
trying to get you on the whole, hey, why don't you buy the 3 for 1
Yeah.
deal? Right. So you see this, that, and the other. It's like, fuck, guys, I'm hungover from last night. I only got like 3 hours here. Like, come on, cut me a break here.
Oh,
Yeah. No, that'll be cool, man. I look forward to seeing at the very least pictures. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to swing Motor City this year,
Mhm.
but I hope you can get the old Puzzle Fox over there and
Yeah.
let everybody appreciate her.
Yeah. To tell you the truth too, like listening to you guys talk about ponies in the Smokies pits. I think
Yeah.
I'd freaking love to get to that, especially like I said, I'm into the old stuff too. You know, I love the Foxes, but I love the original ones too. So I think that'd be
Yeah.
an awesome show to get to. So I was actually really jealous, like listening to all you guys and the
Right.
the 5 Asylum guy is talking about it. So I think that's on the list too.
I mean, I don't think there's anybody that would tell you any different from what I'm about to tell you, but like, yeah, that's a must do, you know.
Yeah.
That's a real pretty part of the country, and
Mhm.
it set and setting and the people there, you know, of Tennessee and stuff. It's a really, really good time. Well
Mhm.
organized too, you know,
Yep.
easy to get in and out of, and well, shit, that whole Gatlinburg area, right? Like it's built on tourism, so
Yeah.
easy to find a place to stay and all the rest of it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's funny because I've been down to that Smoky Mountain area. I've been on the tail of the Dragon and all those roads 3 different times. Never in a car.
All right.
Always on a
Yeah,
bike.
never in a car. I take that back. I went with some buddies one time. There was 4 of us, and one guy didn't trust his bike going that from Minnesota all the way down there, so we trailered our 4 bikes. So I drove a pickup with a flatbed trailer behind it with 4 bikes on it. That's the only time I've driven 4 wheels through that neck of the woods.
Okay. Yeah, that would be probably a big draw too. Hey, is the whole bike crew down in that area?
Yep, it's huge. There's a lot of stuff that caters to motorcycles down there, so it's booming for that. And it's kind of funny too because I even bragged it up. I've talked about my son quite a bit. I got a daughter too, but she's not in the car, so she doesn't come up a whole lot in this conversation. Yeah. But yeah, my son actually left Monday. He had a college graduation last week, and he wanted to do a solo trip, so he took his GTI and he drove down to the tail of the Dragon in the Smoky Mountains. Spent about a day or a day and a half out there, and then he drove and he took his mountain bike along. We're big into mountain biking too, so he went over to Bentonville, Arkansas. So where Walmart started, but it's huge mountain biking area around there. So he's spent a few days out there. He's actually driving back up from there right now. So he kind of did his little solo trip. I'm like, you got to do that. Everyone's got to do that at some point in their life. Just freaking go somewhere by yourself and live by your own rules for a few days. And
100%, man. Yeah, that's those are trips you'll never ever forget.
Yep.
You know,
that's what I did my first time down to the tail of the Dragon. We were living in Michigan. I hopped on my CBR 929 RR. I rode down there in a day, rode around for 2 days, and rode back. So
nice.
1,800 miles in 4 days on a sport bike. So
wow. How was your ass after that?
It was hurting. I didn't get on the bike for about a week, I think.
I bet. Holy, yeah, that's a lot of miles in a short period of time.
Yeah.
On a bike, especially.
Yeah, on a sport bike of all things. So
wow. Cool. Well, Jess, thanks again, man. Can't thank you enough for coming on with us and telling us your stories.
I was excited when I got the message from you. So I came home and I told Nora, I said, holy shit, look at this.
That's awesome.
Pretty honored. So wanted to chat. So
thanks, buddy. No, we're honored to have you for sure. So, okay. Well, good luck with the car, my friend.
Thank you.
Keep us posted on the Instagrams on all the upcoming events with her. And we look forward to seeing it.
All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Oh, thanks. Bye.